that the attempt for the pick is going to come through.
Yeah, and I think the big thing coming out of that is I actually did like T1's look in the early lane swap. They seem to really know what they wanted to do. They used the Gragas pick, to your point, Kobe, where it's so hard to dive a Gragas even super early on. And so going forward, I'm interested to see what GenG do. This was a risk, leaving the Yone pick open, picking the Renekton over the Ashe or something similar. So we'll see.
And that's why I want to keep my eyes on Keria coming into this game. He was a monster in this early stage, constantly roaming towards Faker, leaving Gumayusi by himself, getting that early control, and Lehens needs to control him.
Alo
Lehens
mình
did
là
not do a good job in the early stages. He needs to step up big time.
Let's
he
do
wasn't good in
this.
the last series, and now again is struggling against Keria.
I love it that you give this directive, that you call him out. I mean, it's true because, you know, this is only a game one in a best of 5, but every game counts for a reason. You're going in now with more information for T1. You can be happy with what you showed. GenG is going to be on the blue side, and it's a chink in the armor already. And the question is, can you now fight back and make sure that they don't get you to your knees?
So exciting. What an exciting start to this series. I mean, an explosive big Baron. We saw, like we say, some stumbles in the very beginning of the game. But game number 2, we'll see the adjustments.
Quen đâu chào vậy, tại mình là T1 này nè, so rất nhiều
finally die in this game too.
I don't think so. I mean, I haven't seen anything that's going to prove that's going to happen, so I'm feeling that maybe he'll just cruise through this one as well. We'll see whether the Nexus dies, but I think that's going to go down.
Game 2.
Yeah, Atlas is a fan, famously, of small sample sizes, but this
GenG are blue side UI, no?
Okay, it's 8 games in a row. This is becoming a medium sample size. You know, this is getting real.
Let's go.
Over here right now. So we'll just have to see. I think if T1 are going to win, it is going to be one of those games where they should be able to roll over. But I think that there's going to be a lot of adaptation moving into this chance.
Okay, ha hiểu bán lại vì. Yo liu bán lại vì.
Already, GenG once again banning away the Xayah here this time on the blue side.
And this should give us a really good indication of how this series is going to look like. Because in game 1, GenG were on red side and took a lot of risks. If T1 is able to get a 2-0 lead, breaking them on red side as well, it's going to be so much harder to fight back. Gonna have to be a really big pivot as the Smolder, even with the Yone not being in the game, is taken away.
Now, I do think that Gumayusi's pool at this World Championship is pretty much those 80 carries on a screen. Now, admittedly, we've seen him play Caitlyn, we've seen him play Draven, but Ezreal and Kai'Sa, the usual de facto go-to meta 80 carries that we're seeing often, are not his priority. The question then becomes, where does Ziggs fall on the totem pole? Because we saw how effective it was for FaZe in his ability to stall out the game. But is that something that T1 want to try and prioritize? And if they do, what do they then put mid lane?
And I was going to say, this Skarner pick does seem to make a bit of sense based on how much Canyon is wanting to play it. The amount of success, though, isn't necessarily giving us a lot of joy. But what's the other option? It's now Caitlyn and Kindred.
Caitlyn and Kindred.
There we go.
Whoa.
I mean, it's Gumayusi. Well, I mean, of course, he's going to pick a lane-dominant 80 carry. And the lane swap meta, I debate how effective it is. But the biggest surprise to me is the Kindred coming out from owners and answer into the Skarner.
That's some shades of 2022 that I'm seeing here with the Kate and Kindred. And do note, Nidalee this time around was not banned. And that is something that Canyon, we saw even in the series against FlyQuest, has very heavily relied upon. GenG's the Jax, obviously a good adaptation. Renekton didn't really hit last time around. He's available this time as well.
Very good into double 80 carry,
exactly. But the Ahri thus far hasn't really sparked a lot of confidence. Faker can just go for the silence, and I know it's supposed to power pick, but that's not really how the games have played out thus far here at Worlds.
But if they wanted Gragas again, they had to take it right there. Gragas, decent matchup into the Jax. If you have the Kindred, you kind of want to get things that are bad guys off your Lamb's Respite to get the most value, so that could have been another great pickup. But it's going to be the Braum instead. That is going to be just the power lane here for both Gumayusi and Keria, but they're going to need some engage from somewhere.
I mean, so the Lulu ban caught me off guard a little bit, but the logic is maybe Lulu's very good into Brawl. That's the realistic possibility of FaZe. We've already seen Twitch, not that I'm expecting Twitch in this draft, but a potential hyper carry to pair up alongside of Lulu could be an effective answer. So that's going to be taken away. The Galio is going to be banned away, and the idea between a potential Camille plus Galio plus Kindred combo coming out from T1. Bit of an old school, but definitely take that respect, along with the Renata now taken away by T1.
Yeah, it gives them some engage options as well. So trying to take those off the board as much as possible. As there is the Renata ban as well from T1's side. course, another option that's pretty good into the Braum.
Saw it as well in the BLG series, obviously in that Game 4. Hanwha versus BLG. A lot of shenanigans happening with that Galio. The Gragas, I do agree with you, Atlas seems like a no-brainer, but he's not going to get taken away. That is good into Jax. Zayas just came off of a great game off of it, and it synergizes really well with that Kindred.
Something like that, because you could imagine that they do have a pretty fresh mind. That is a line pickup. Maokai going to be a consideration, though. That could be the support option or a top option.
We saw that from...
No, it's not going to be support. I don't think Braum jungle is what might be happening here.
Why am I blanking? It was Bree. Bree this week. I think it's a pretty good matchup into the Jax, in all honesty, and you get so tanky. I don't love Maokai as an engage, just because it's so slow and it's very slow. Slow, I said that twice. It has a big AoE.
Possibly slow as well.
Exactly, yes. I'm fascinated as to how they're going to round this draft out. You're expecting some sort of AP mage to come through. GenG kind of sticking to this idea of diving with Ahri, Kai'Sa.
Yeah.
Give me the Blitzcrank.
No, I imagine it's going to be something like the Rel or the Leona.
Rel makes lots of sense. So they're effectively playing full dive into Braum, Kindred, and Maokai. That does not sound great. If you are GenG, and I got to give credit to T1, I think GenG thus far have been very predictable in how they have drafted and the priorities that they've used. And some of these individual champions, they've just not looked that good. Keen on Jax, that's great. But Canyon on Skarner, Chovy's, Ahri, and Paze, even going back to summer finals, wasn't really able to have the performance that I think you ideally would be looking for. And then you have a ton of comfort for T1. I think the only thing that you lack is engage, but the counter engage and your ability to be, if you're first in an objective, to deny any area access is out of this world.
I'm also kind of surprised because when we see 380 carry bands, like the direction that Guma's going to go is quite predictable in a sense. And it feels like that they haven't really provided a good response to this Caitlyn. I guess the idea is that they get their hands on the Jax, which sure in 80 carries is good, but I think your point is so potent in this game about you are very short range up into Braum, Kindred, Maokai. I'm fascinated. Like, ultimately, T1's engage is very low. It's not the strongest. You're very reliant on Maokai, maybe Sylas stealing a good ult, maybe a Skarner ultimate or a Rel ultimate. But I think T1 have cooked, and I like the dish that they prepared.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I think that not having a lot of engage only matters if you lose the range battle. But I think they're doing okay in that regard.
That's true.
When that sort of is one of the concerns. When you can throw saplings around to get as much information as possible. I mean, Zayas should be able to just face check anything that he would like later into the game because he's going to be a walking fortress. I think that once again, T1 are coming out of a draft looking really, really good. And this time it's on the red side. And GenG fans might need to start getting nervous unless they can find some angles. But it is now time to get onto the rift and see whether they can put their money where their mouth is. So we jump into game 2.
The other thing is zone control. Caitlyn traps, Maokai saplings, as you highlighted. You said that Zayas can pretty much face check into anyone, right? Because, you know, he's Maokai, he's a tank, he can also use a sapling, a lot of safety. Good luck face checking into Braum Caitlyn. Like, that is a horrifying thing to have to face check into. And the problem is that even if GenG is first on an objective, throw the Maokai ultimate, zone them off the objective. You then regain the space. Once you have the space, trap. Like, and now you've got to walk into us again. I think that the idea of playing around objectives, I'm going to be fascinated to see how GenG navigate their way through that. I think flanks and vision control is going to be so important for them.
Chovy's going to have a really good laning phase for starters. Did go, by the way, GenG loves the resolve tree, as we can see.
I mean, Chovy just loves grass. He does love grass. It's just another thing that he can access some dopamine from,
yeah, so Chovy needs to do a good job. I also think that Keen, if he does get his matchup, should be able to get the shot. But the problem is you don't really want to 2v2 as Kai'Sa Rel into the Cade Braum. So you're incentivized to lane swap so that your bot lane can survive. But also you kind of want the Jax to match the Maokai, because Maokai early doesn't really get to do a whole lot. It looks like it is actually T1 that is going for the swap here initially, playing 2v2 mid.
You'll notice that Guma was hovering around mid for quite a while, which means that he was quite late to the top wave. On top of that, Zayas was denied from farm on the bot side of the map. So already this lane swap isn't ideal, optimal for the way in which T1 is setting themselves up for success. Carrier has been hovering around mid. He's going to get level 2 very quickly. He's already on his transition over to bot lane, knowing that, hey, if I get one more minion, I'll level over. That's fine. I don't need to take any more XP away from Faker. Jungler pathing topside, those kind of you'd expect. Oh no, which means that the threat of the dive is coming.
Yep, Carrier is going to get stunned up here by Lehens as he makes his way in. Level 2 only. Level 1 for Carrier. He's burning down. He's dead. That is going to be first blood going over to Canyon, and they'll take some plates to boot because Zeus now finds himself in a whole lot of trouble. Might have a twisted advance to try and outplay some stuff. That Arcane Smash was pretty good, or the Bramble Smash as it's known now. As Canyon underneath this turret has to flash. He's able to dodge the turret shot as a couple more autos are needed. It's Paiza locks it down almost. They navigate the dive.
Game number 1, the dive of disaster. Game number 2 puts GenG back on the right track. A kill for Pace, and so many resources for T1 going to waste.
I mean, that was perfect execution from GenG. They punish the rotation from Carrier, they get him before he gets level 2, and then they manage the tower aggro phenomenally. This is the GenG we were expecting.
And this is exactly the GenG that we need to see in this game if we want it to get to a best of 3.
Which we do.
They have to start early if they want to get some of these advantages. You already said that the script is written for how fights are going to go later on in the game, and it's not very fun if you're not on T1. So GenG, they have to be able to snowball this forward. We'll see what they can do. It's not over yet. They need to get more leads.
Canyon is quite far behind in terms of camps, is the biggest downside for GenG. You'll notice that he's only managed to get through his bot side. Oh, flash once again from Carrier. I say again, I mean, he didn't get a chance to flash earlier. But Canyon putting pressure down, I should say, onto Carrier once again, as Faker going to be zoned away from what farm he can. He's doing a pretty good job so far in the mid lane matchup, but at the bottom of your screen, it's a suave shade of blue.
It is indeed. GenG finding a bunch of advantages. Excellent use of the word suave as well. Speaking of which, so was that just escape from Canyon. Decides, nope, I would prefer not to do this.
Canyon, one of the most often heard pieces of criticism for this player, which also ties into his strength, which is mid to late game impact and carry performances, is that he's not doing enough. I think this game he's overcompensating a little bit. Still sitting at 16 CS, but because of the early kill, once he picks up his camps that are going to be decent level, he should be able to very quickly catch back up in experience. And when it comes to gold, he is still doing fine.
On est所先嚟啦，要唔要 level？
but good to see.
我哋而家咧情緒就係咯 level 2 啊。
With how game number 1 played out, it felt like GenG was on track for what we've seen them do so many times, and T1 really threw them off.
And I will draw attention to our viewers who aren't as familiar with our format. Overlay, I should say. You can keep track of the Kindred stacks on the right-hand side of your screen. You can see that underneath the flash, and same for any of the stacking champions, which we don't have in this game. But
Owner actually doing a decent job if we're going to compare Kindred performances that we've seen this Worlds. I think he is currently 13 minutes earlier on his first mark, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, not bad.
And didn't even need that to win the game. So that says
marks
something.
are overrated.
Yeah, we are really snowballing on the marks. If he keeps this one up, it could be completely ridiculous. Yeah, exactly.
Now, Paze has transitioned to the top side of the Rift. Guma's actually been moved over to mid. Zeus does not have the TP available. Faker has TP to top. I wonder if T1 is going to try and contest these grubs, but Faker setting up a trap.
Yeah. You've got Owner moving on over as well. Does get seen on that control ward, but finally Pace gets that information. Has to use the ulti. Chains don't land because the flash has to come out, and Pace is going to help now with these grubs. But that is not a lot of extra power here for GenG. Losing that flash, really important.
Pace staying alive is crucial there. Otherwise, if they get that kill, T1 can then immediately collapse. You saw the rest of the members actually making their way over, but instead it's a big win for GenG. They get the grubs, and as mentioned, the Maokai is always going to have a lot of impact as Faker.
Yeah, could be in some trouble here as Lehens moving on over, finds a shattering strike. Ulti available here as Faker decides to go down, but Canyon's there to meet him. Faker now trying to change positions, but the plasma is stacked, and Pace is going to get some revenge.
And Lehens to reposition there to deny the ability for Faker to ult out with the Kai'Sa ult.
And on top of that, Canyon using his E to Faker, but in his flash path, meaning that he had nowhere to go. Nice collapse from GenG. and they funnel that kill onto FaZe, crucially to get him further and further ahead. 2-0-0 now for the Kai'Sa, an 800 gold lead for him. And GenG came out the gate swinging here in game 2.
And he's got some compound interest. That Ko is ticking away. Gonna even further bolster the gold lead. And the biggest difference here, as I think very clearly, Lehenz's impact in game 1 versus game 2, and then the inverse, Carry out on the Braum. It's just not really the same type of champion.
Lehenz possibly looking for a little bit more here, but only level 4
nice
as his carrier.
Now
Actually have some levels in them, as we can see here. Some Berserker's Greaves done for Gumayusi. It's a bit of a battle towards the bottom side of the map. Zeus could be in trouble. Canyon once again just lawnmowing his way over. Owner gonna get caught by the brambles. Actually not, because of course there's Zeus's. I'm getting confused. Should be a jungler. Has that ability. Keen jumping back though. I don't know about that one, but he has the counter strike. Zeus now looking for an opportunity here, but Keen looks like he's out. Canyon now the one moving forward, but Owner is continuing these autos. The dance of arrows can get him in range as they get the bramble smash to slow Canyon down. Impale's going to be dodged beautifully. Counter strike for the stun. Canyon on about 1 health, and Owner cannot dive the turret.
Not even close. Canyon holds onto his flash and make sure that he keeps that summoner available, but what an almost turn from T1.
There seemed to be a bit of indecision on the side of GenG about whether or not they wanted to commit to the play. But then when they finally decided to, Ono was like, all right, fine, let's take this 2 versus 2, and you saw the power of the Kindred early on in the skirmishes. No kill ends up dropping for either side, and Keen's able to catch this massive top wave as well.
In the picture-in-picture, also, we were distracted by what was happening, but Chovy actually forced Faker's flash. I imagine went for an offensive ult play, got that summoner out, and that does mean that T1 for a possible contest on these grubs. Trying to deny the Jack 6 grubs, definitely something that you want to do, but 2 crucial summoners now no longer going to be available. Keen also had to invest his flash, but Canyon still has his.
Yep. And one thing I want to draw everyone's attention to is the fact is something that we've spoken about earlier. It's a 2,000 gold lead here for GenG. It has to be. The way team fights are going to work later in the game should be able to favor T1 if they don't fall too far behind. Right now, I think that GenG are on pace for trying to create a snowball, but they cannot stop. Like, this is about continuing to press this advantage as much as they possibly can. First Dragon certainly going to help out with that. Next one going to be an Infernal. And GenG just have to keep their foot on the gas.
I mean, I think it's important to realize that kind of on paper, GenG's comp is easier to execute because it's just go forward.
Yeah.
Right? Press
go
R,
in and
engage.
kill.
Yeah, exactly. So T1 in the fight, so we talked about all these tools that they have, but execution is key. Patience, cutting backwards, leveraging your range, being able to sort of circumvent your way around all of the engage that GenG's going to have. So if they get a lead, it becomes even harder to do that, and it can look even more dominating when GenG is just forcing all of these.
The fact that 2 out of 3 kills are on FaZe as well is something that could be worrying. Because yes, there's a range advantage for T1, but that reposition from the Killer Instinct can really allow GenG, if FaZe is really strong in this game, to just clean up any situation where they can get a foothold. So things could go from bad to worse very, very quickly. That's getting ahead of ourselves, though. Let's have a look at how this mid-game is going to unfold. As already Canyon getting to work, trying to lock down 6 of these grubs on vision right now, but we can see there's Kindred in the bottom lane. So it's not likely that the contest is going to work out.
And this all comes from Chovy's prio in mid. This time around actually is able to have that very aggressive laning phase, and Faker just has to catch the wave. So I think T1 make the right call. Don't try to fight that. Instead, try to look for the cross map. GenG with FaZe and Lehenz's arriving will be fine. I also want to highlight Owner now on 2 marks. Found one on the Grump in topside. But Owner, who I think was by far the most consistent member of T1 in summer, had a little bit of a dip in playoffs, but then has been exceptional Worlds again. When you think of his best champions, they're champions with really high impact, but not necessarily the carries, right? It's the Vi moments, it's the Rel from last year.
You have to cast your mind back a very long way, right? It was when he was making his names on picks like Graves that you really remember him being able to carry from the jungle role. It's not something he's a stranger to. This is maybe something he's a bit rusty on.
It's just not something, like it's not about whether or not Owner can do this. It's about how T1 as a team functions and has over the last couple of years.
I will say that when you look at this T1 draft, it definitely isn't typical T1. Like, seeing Zeus play a full-on tank is not something that we often get to see. Carrier, I always think of his supports as, I mean, he's the flashy playmaker. When he's on Braum,
we remember it, but not with a great look in our eye, you know?
So I will say that, like, this T1 composition is definitely a bit of a difference from what we normally see from them. And while we didn't see the best version of GenG in game 1, you have to wonder if T1 also trying something different out on the red side to see if they can catch GenG off guard. So far in the early game, GenG have been outperforming them in terms of the lane swap and punishing them on the side lanes. We'll see how things transition as we get into the mid game and these objectives become more important.
Yep, I think Gumayusi's positioning going to be extremely important, and the way Oner plays around the rest of his team to try and maximize these marks. Shun got to 4 stacks of the Kindred mark at 28 minutes and 42 seconds. See whether Oner can get a little bit higher than that, because it's the next few that are going to be the most important. Of course, remember guys, 4 stacks on your Kindred marks, that's when you get the big old range boost and you're feeling really good about it. But GenG right now utilizing 6 grubs to smash down this turret. It's not a race this time. T1 just didn't even really start.
It's also the biggest boost, and it's the only one that's actually essential. Everything past that is nice, but particularly, Lehens.
Yeah, possible catch here. Onto Carrier once again. He shows them the door, but Pei says, no, I'm not going to get caught by that one. One more auto attack, but there's the Lamb's Respite. And Oner is going to be able to save Carrier. He actually walks out so that he doesn't get tagged.
I like the aggression there from GenG. Carrier, thanks to Oner's ultimate, is able to get him away to safety. But Carrier very close to losing his life, and you can see how much control GenG have over the map. That bottom side is just littered with wards, and it just goes to show the way in which they set up the pressure onto bot. They had control over mid, transition that priority, and then they converted it into an easy objective setup. All of the early game objectives have gone the way of GenG, and now they return their bot lane to mid, ready for the Rift Herald.
The thing that I'm looking at is still just going to be Oner. As this game goes on, you can see he's got a gigantic lead as far as farm is concerned, but it is still Canyon. With these early kills, with the amount of objectives that they've been able to lock down, does have a slight gold advantage, but it is very, very slight. And Oner is a large proponent of where the damage is going to come from in this game from T1. And as that range increases, lethality will increase as well. Not the stat, just in general. It's an awkward word to use in League of Legends. I apologize, but that's going to be Rift Herald going on over to GenG as well. A monopoly on these objectives so far in this game as Carrier's flashing on over. Lehens could be in trouble. Shattering Strike to hold him in place as Faker wants to be able to get a piece of this. He's not going to get the kill. That's going to go to Oner. As T1, who managed to get their first kill of the game.
Pretty nicely done there by T1. So GenG started up the Herald as a hold that fought. We might have a collapse imminent here.
Yeah, you've got Zeus throwing down the Nature's Grasp, looking to try and catch them in place. But GenG, they just exit. They just
leave.
The move to the left. I like the approach.
Not too bothered there. Keen will get the turret though. But T1 there identified we can't really fight for the Herald. And Chovy was alone in bot lane, so they read the play. Lehens actually trying to cover for Chovy. Gets caught mid-rotation. It's going to be the Grubs and the Herald going over the GenG, but the second Dragon of the game.
Oh! He just wanders on in there. He'll flash away. So they at least get that. Faker also taking the other turret on the bottom side, but that is so big. And now it's Hextech Soul. This game.
Oner didn't have smite, and the only way that Canyon knew was because he saw the W from Pei go off the wall, he saw the HP, it didn't get smited, and so he's like, wait, I think there's an angle
Something's
here.
Fishy,
yeah, and so he just went for it. Beautiful play from Canyon, great read from him. The Herald gets dropped in mid, and the player that we haven't talked about, but is getting monstrously scary, is Keen in the top lane. He secured a full tower on the top side, uncontested. He's almost got a 1k gold lead. That Trinity Force is on the horizon. And we talked about it in the draft, right? Into double AD carry, even into a Silas. This Jax is not really going to be afraid of anyone on the side lane. The man is just going to do his best to hold him off.
It's going to be about how well T1 just holds Keen at bay and tries to bide their time. But as the game stands right now, it is not looking good because this snowball is a-rolling. GenG are capitalizing, but it's only 2.5k, something like that as far as gold lead is concerned. 6 Grubs and 2 Dragons are what they get for it though, which is still very, very valuable, especially with the Soul being this Hextech.
In game number 1, T1 found the one win the way of the Baron call, and it was a weird moment because it felt like GenG was aware of it, yet still underestimated it. It brought them back in the game, and I think they're going to need a similar moment here because, as mentioned, this composition is really going to struggle as long as GenG has that map control. GenG is now the one that keeps shoving out the waves, keep having prio on the vision, and it is quite hard for T1 to find a good sniper engage. They have a ton of CC once you actually get on top of them, but you don't have something like the Rel, like the Leona, like the Vi to really start off a team fight when GenG isn't ready.
Well, we talked about how GenG, if they start off an objective, T1 actually have a lot of ways to gain access onto the objective, even if they don't have the best engage, simply due to the fact that they have a Caitlyn plus the Maokai ultimate. But ideally, they're on the objective first. They have position with the Caitlyn traps. They're forcing the enemy to face check into their Braum, into their saplings. But T1 are never being given that opportunity, thanks to how well GenG is snowballing this early game. They have a 3k gold lead. They're playing around their side lanes incredibly well. They've got a 4-1 setup right now. Fake is in top lane catching another wave. And GenG are just very methodically suffocating T1 out of the map.
Yep, pulling them around, as you can see, moving over towards his inner turret in the mid lane. Ace in the hole does go down, fair bit of damage onto Lehens. Decent knock up there, but Carey had to invest the ultimate just to get them away from this turret. It's just GenG trading up at this point in the game.
The turret stands though. Main thing for T1 is to not lose too much of that map control. You see them still moving around as a 5-man unit, maybe looking for some stragglers. Looking at the item finishes though, because of the gold leads afforded to GenG. Pays already on 2 items, and let's not forget this Kai'Sa. It's only going to get worse from free items onwards. When you get your revolves, when you're able to be a threat both as a poke champion as well as when you dive into the backline. As you mentioned, Fetty, I actually think there's a small window with the Maokai is like tanky enough to kind of deal with the Jax. But once Triforce is done, it gets a whole lot harder. And in a team fight, he'll be able to, but in the side lane, getting to match is going to be very, very hard.
And we need to talk about our Mercedes-Benz features matchup. You mentioned it already on the Pays side, but Gumayusi is about to hit that trough. This is where he's going to have to dig deep and make sure he continues on that streak of his, because Infinity Edge is necessary. That 2-item spike, it feels better than it used to, but definitely wants 3 items, 4 items, needs armor penetration, Infinity Edge, and then he feels a whole lot better. It doesn't get better all that soon here for T1 in this game.
What you see though, T1 have been in this position before. They're trying to look for these small catches inside. Zeus could be in big trouble here.
Yeah, it does have a sapling in position. Actually a bit lazy.
Not enough damage.
Versus Zeus would take a while, to say the least.
SNX Dragon. They're setting up on the top side of the map. Vision is walking over wards right now. Going to clear those out. Chovy respects the fact that he is on the weak side of the map as Lehens makes his way up towards the top side. Keen continues to push in the bot wave. It looks like he's heading towards a Starak second, which to me, that's kind of the break point for Jax when he's got the Trinity Force and the Staraks. He just becomes this really difficult to kill bruiser.
Yep, and I was actually going to say, if this was the Infinity Edge back for Gumayusi, then maybe there's an opportunity somewhere. He's not quite there, sitting on the pickaxe and the BF sword as the Baron is about to spawn. 10 seconds until that dragon. Is good sidestep there from Lehens. It was just going to be some support.
This is GenG dealing with the fallout and trauma of last game. Look at the amount of vision control set up as they are heading towards this for a dragon. This time around,
load up, Baron, load up.
T1's Baron damage is so much worse. Last time they had an incredibly quick Baron. This time that's not really going to be the case.
Yep, T1 not going to be able to get on over there. I think as soon as everyone saw that those timers were matched up, they were like, oh, T1's going to try for it. GenG, of course, saw as well. So they were able to stop that one from happening. Investing the limited resources to lock down Soul Point for themselves, continuing that monopoly on the neutral objectives. And this is really looking good for GenG here in game number 2, which, if you're a fan of 5-game series, is pretty good.
It's, I mean, if you're interested in getting into super high-level league, both of these teams showcase through game 1 and game 2 how important the early game can be, and how effectively you can snowball from that point, depending on the strengths of your champions. Because both teams have, throughout this series, demonstrated an effective way of how to play through that strength and snowball effectively. It's been a beauty to watch. It is a low-kill game, but the map control, the decisions that GenG have made, the tactical decisions and the execution has been near flawless, and it's resulted in a 3k gold lead 20 minutes in.
Many have credited one of GenG's current coaching staff for being one of the original reasons why Vision in League of Legends got changed for exactly these type of games. And if you think the map is lit up now, go back, watch some old VODs.
I mean, Europe is very fond of when they nerf that, okay?
Yeah, let's have a conversation about control wards and how much they're bought and stuff like that. I think that's a good idea.
And knowing T1, what they're going to look for now is a quote-unquote, oh no, someone's caught in the side lane, followed by an immediate fight and an immediate collapse. They have dispatched of many teams when they were feeling like they were in a position of power. The problem is that generally GenG doesn't really bite. They just let you play it out, keep their patience. It's the way they love to play, particularly when they are looking great on their carries, like in this game.
Crucially, T1's waiting for those spikes, and I believe Guma's about 200, about 100 gold off. So he needs another wave. He's waiting for that wave to be pushed in. The question is, can it, well, he's going to get it in time because the next Dragon's in 3 minutes, and I feel like GenG's not the time to just sporadically force this Baron now. I mean, they could. It's a great window for them to do it, but Malignance is almost done for Chovy. I imagine he wants to get that finished before anything comes through. The Sun and Sky actually going to be the itemization from Keen, also something we've been seeing from him. And then it goes into the Zhonya's third, which is also a very effective tool. So a lot of damage for this Jax in a side lane. Does make him a little squishier. So,
feels like the 1v1.
Yeah. Going
for that Sterk. So Keen
also big bird AD carry build.
Oh yeah. Yes. And there's a couple of those.
Yes.
It's got some options.
It's also the role kind of changes, because in longer fights, if you can get the proc of the Sundered Sky on multiple people, it actually adds to your stim. As you're saying, Vedi, if he does get focused, with Sterix, you can get away from some really, really rough situations. Not really going to have the same level of playmaking as the Brandwin's now done for Canyon. Going to get so much value out of that. Steel caps on him as well. And I can guarantee you, Faker is not really interested in trying to kill a Skarner. But for the 80 carries, it's going to be quite tough.
I think Pays might be mega close to his Nashes. Does
Should
he have
be,
it yet?
Pretty close is now Carrier going to have to flash. Get out of the way of Canyon.
All right,
striding with a purpose, and that could be important moving forward because we know that Carrier loves to play engage Braum. We don't like looking at it necessarily, but now without flash, he's definitely not going to be able to utilize it. So GenG, they have so much control of the tempo of this game. As Lahen's going to have to crash away from this one. T1 just attempting to bully them out of the river. Canyon moves on over and says no.
Item-wise, we're about as good as we're going to get, right? Both these teams should sit there and say, all right, Guma would love another item. He's not getting it. The Soul is spawning in about a minute's time. There will be nothing that he can buy in that window to be able to really be much stronger.
T1's not buying it.
What is Zeus
They're like,
up to?
you're not going for this.
Well, we'll see what they can actually get done here, as it's going to be Carrier blowing up like a balloon.
They were not!
Yeah.
They were not doing it!
No. They did not want to, and now GenG might be able to just head over towards this Baron and try and take that one down. Chovy still with that Spirit Rush running. Faker able to dodge out of the way.
Keen.
Oh god, this flank angle is absolutely terrifying. Of course, all of the things about T1's team fight still kind of stand, but without the Braum, that's a big piece of that puzzle missing. We'll see what they're able to do here, as the nature is grasping. Does manage to stun up Canyon. He can get over that wall pretty comfortably, as now they've just singled out Zeus. So much damage. Lahen's takes the kill. And T1, they had the trap set up, but GenG don't want to go there. As now Ona trying to dash back. Keen says, no, I'm going to buy time for my teammates, as Carrier comes over. The Winter's Bite does nothing, and Keen, he just wants to fight again. They'll take the Baron, and Keen gets back into position. And now Canyon is the two-man impale as well. And GenG will destroy the Baron, destroy the team fight.
strategy 已經講埋 map control 就講你傻啊，特嘅講你。
It is a systematic dissection of T1. One by one they fall. One by one the objectives follow. GenG calculated, just eviscerate T1.
Oh, and that's straight into Soul as well.
The Nexus might not fall, but this game really should be over. Baron here for GenG. Hextech Soul on top of it. And let's be fair, this is what we all wanted.
Oh yeah. And this is beautiful execution of this draft as well, from GenG start to finish. As you can see, T1, 4 versus 5, desperation, but they knew if they let this Baron go, they're just going to slowly but surely lose the game.
What's crucial here is GenG giving absolutely no window to flip the game. With Kindred in particular, it's so easy to get over the wall, and we see that he is just being systematically denied access, and the Keen value, this Jax does so much into these 80 carries, they just can't deal with him.
I think that Keen is the biggest guy to hit. Just standing there, it's kind of like his aura is saying, try
menacing,
you know? And the problem is when you lose that Braum, you lose a crucial part of your front line.
Nice one,
so
nice one.
There's no way for them to
He's
approach.
stressed out, man. Always fantastic to check out the GenG coaching stuff, but
like you say, now on cooldown, but Gumayushi, oh my god.
That was insane damage. We've also now got a Seeker's Arm Guard on Pays. They really want to finish this game right here, right now. Look at that. Another Void Seeker going to connect. And Zap onto that. Caitlyn, they can't walk up. Like, how are they supposed to stop this freight train from crashing into their base? GenG have taken 2 inhibitors in a matter of seconds. It's a 10,000 gold lead plus here with this Hex Dexol, and T1 once again throwing out some grasping nature. They try to line up behind their tank, and it is absolutely working. Pays is indeed unstoppable as Carrier goes down. The Killer Instinct is named well as this is his second one. The Lambs Respite going to keep them alive for now, but who's it healing? It's only healing GenG as they move to 1-1 in this series.
Good job, GenG. Good job.
T1's composition, but in
အဓိကတော့ T1 ကောင်းစကားကိုဘန်းလိုက်ပြီးသွားပြီ။ကာနာကိုဘန်းလိုက်ပြီးတော့စံသိန်းကိုထုတ်လိုက်။
And then they
just
dismantled them from start to finish. Objective control, the team fights.
Okay.
I mean, this is the series that we
want.
သူတို့နည်းနည်းသဘောပေါက်ဖို့က
အဲ့စကာနာကိုတော့ထောက်လိုက်ပါ။အခုကသူကစကာနာကိုကရတယ်ဟဲ့အောင်ယူမချူပြမှာ။အောက်ကြီးမဆိုင်ဘူးဆိုတော့ဟာမျိုးသွားလို့
And what this series has so far been about is execution of your game plan from the draft. And so far it's been beautiful for both winners. Time for us to go to a break. When we get back, we'll see what they have cooked for us in Game 3.
Nice one. Long loomer.
Simula ng rumupok.
Take Caltrate now.
Official collaboration of Hat and Capital J. They do that at the line, yeah. And I made my bind, yeah. Y'all like it, Johnny, yeah. I died out. Kakuro, chat again, no sort of tingle, yeah. The yam is skill, go to well over, yeah. Does that hurt? Crab work go bell out the motale. Yeah. Me tell the loud the moya dine the me ya me. Do me a the counting nine mean like being in the la. Ya luka free it up me but the change to it. Smarten up, bruh. You gotta toughen up. Be on your guard like you're ready for whatever. Yeah, whatever. Me pay my scene it they chill load up ten nine and hype me that nigga yeah me where they go in life. Be loud the on me chill and bone polo chum you da. Ya the name sign move sound la modula. Hope for the best. Have an open heart, more long and you don't they know how to teach children. Never see the light, I am not your boy DJ, can I live? Do you till I'm a yeah? Stop. I'm in the Anaga. Get it poppin' like watch how the homie get down. They gon' bounce like watch how the shorties get down. They gon' bounce like watch how my beats get down. Get up, I get down. Y'all know we gon' bounce. Let me kind of in the messy they go some way high. Then the side put it, me go take the go pay job. No, for Sunday, I don't wear the old lonely malai. Reconsider. Better man again, the Jodo got a dream of job. The Mata Yaku, they pay the book of my hound and million piao. Palma stressman in the easy here. Bring on it like heavy to Eastern movement, pay it. Joy, I'm as a car, chain you since I might have a pain and go to a quick hamatata, ya, drug good type by chain. The local Giga Minda Mogo, now that's why you're season the on your movement of Lila Lane. Never see the day, I am not your boy DJ, can I live? Do you till I'm a yeah? Stop. I'm in the Anaga, get it poppin' like watch how the homie get down. They gon' bounce like watch how the shorties get down. They gon' bounce like watch how my beats get down. Get up, I get down. Y'all know we gon' bounce, bounce. Woo! Let's ride out. In my collaboration, only 1999 pieces in the world. Authenticity is everything.
Cockroach keeps going.
不要做。
Why you toxic? When the better kid they drink up in the Allow me should be on my low years on your pie. Melissa Jin, the quadri man, I'm your year. Take a light on DJ on song, I need on me. I toxic baby, says I didn't go. Got him, they said, I know. All the more chill that they put the night, I'm yo. Toss a lady no more. Yeah, I let you go. Nana, do you need part time? I'm holding Vietnam's gas. Yellow, yet, and say, County Jar. Mentinyan and say, Doubt it, Yami, a daddy, Palo tongue, a piece of cat, Yami, Toya, Yangama. She came me that bit relying on no baby, I let her kid, I meant don't travel, Lubo and Abwa. Nia, simply won't I take carry, go down the Yamato. Milo may claim you're not come low and low. Baby, I'll let you go. I'm much at the shoe boca. Men say, tell alone in target like I you lo yo. Chick, Buddha, they go make. Men John Kung, I'm a day only. Oh, yeah, baby. Bajong Mendo Cardi B. Right, toxic. And about that kid, they drink up and I'm young. Follow me, she'll be the Milo, yes, I'm your pie. And it's out to you, that good dream, I'm young. Take a light, I'm a DJ, I'm song, I need on me. When you toss it, baby, I'm such a jingle. Daddy, me, they said, young, I'll let know. All the more chill that they bet, not I'm yo. Toss a lady no more, yeah, I'll let you go. I'll let you go. Where we go, do? Say, don't worry, don't come, can I know who time the baby? Let's say, low time, yeah, she need like ya. Make a little bit, yeah. Don't you look young, Takaeto be the man. Take out your knees and name ya. Please, I eat that chicken, oh, na. Baba, don't miss a guy, I'm out, goody, I can move on you. I say, I'm a names, I don't cool, let it on you. Every time I drink, you know, baby, I let you go. Much that you won't care. Yes, they done alone and talking like I you don't know. Check it, Buddha, go me. They talk to I'm a day only. Oh, yeah, baby. I don't need to carry, baby. Why you toxic? When I put the kid, they drink up and I'm your year. Allow me should be on my low years on your pie. Melissa Jin, the quadri man, I'm your year. Take a light on DJ on song, I need on me. I toxic, baby, says I didn't go. Got him, and they said, I know. All the more chill that they put the night, I'm yo. Toss a lady no more. Yeah, I let you go. Right, Together, my lamb, yeah, they lie alone, me. Chodares Gallery.
Oh, Lux Twalama.
I giant loud. Together, my lamb, Joshu go my way. Oh, you know, I did to live. Barry Malone loudly. Together, my lamb, I need to say, Pietare, Kansa jelly when lade, Dilo land, Quay, I miss so ye, Jodin, Tia, in Kaume, Modai, let me see, Libian, let me die, bitch, I neg, not the demo, I am dreaming, can I swear, let me see, yeah, I'm too late. Net shine and move. I learn to see the tap behind the show. Cigarette without the yo, the young, I yes, sign a munipala, the aim at Trimiaka, Nankum, and that time, la no, baby.
လုံးသားကဖြီးကမခံတဲ့လူသားမျိုးပါကိုကောင်းမဆန်ပြီးမတရားတွေတယောက်ထင်းနေရှောက်လို့ပါတာဆုံးချတဲ့ငါကိုပြန်လဲဖြေဆိုခုစားလို့မြတ်တွဲကမြတ်ကလာပလုံးမလဲနေဘူးတဲ့လူသားမျိုးပါYeah, they not lonely, man. So that is gone, I try to live out there. The killer, my lamb, a question. You're sure more gone, my bed. Oh, you know not to do it. Hurry, my lonely, loudly. Yeah, killer, my lamb, a question. Lamp, me getting, I be my coaching between my shitty, my shame with Kunga, Pia, like Kanzaki, Yada, but do my tea. Lam kwai phit khe yin nga do twi pyaw pho kaung law la do ma hout ti that po so lam la myin ne tai mi that khu ka mya phit chin na phit ma la ke lo kaung site ka lat main cha ba wa ka to to le be mu atu twai song ke de mat tai khna you site pho nga ma yin le yin lo myo nga do ma tat sai ma nyaw ai mat ko chu sa ke le naw cha ke de ban nai mya baby we mya we ma twa ke yin be lo bo wa myo ma ma so shin tan nai de chin na
cha kwa li sin ya si ye phot lai
တော့မေလို့ထားပါရစေပြောင်းလဲပြလို့မြတ်တဲ့ချစ်ခဲ့မှုတဲ့တိတ်ကိုဟောင်းနေတယ်ချစ်တဲ့ပိမိကလို့ရင်ကုန်နေတော့ပေါ်ချစ်ပဲလို့မဖြစ်ဆဲလို့များတကယ်လို့များလည်းမခွဲရင်တရားရသိလာလို့နေမယ်သူသားစကားလေးတွေမကြရနေလားScary go down counting get I bet I bet you miss out need to chow ye locked on interest though my window
Sakto sa bulsa na anghang sarap Magpilis sakto extra hot Pili na
What's erupting outside may be caused by bacteria inside the skin. For pimples, lactazine.
Main dish indeed. I just think the demarcation lines that have been drawn. If you look across games 1 and 2, because we can't forget after that kind of Zeus repel, GenG was also firmly in control before T1 brought it back. They were completely in control. So for me, the momentum feels a little bit shifted towards a T1 that has to make something happen.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is going to be trying to get access to the map early and trying to play for some of the early Void Grubs and getting in your control that way, because it was a big risk in this game as well, where they gave across all 6 of those Void Grubs, trying to cross map to a Jax that's going to be able to match up with the Maokai. Like, there was a lot of risk taken by T1, and if you actually think back to the start of game 1, it was T1 off to an early lead. I think it was mistakes at those Void Grubs that came back to bite them. So there is definitely ways T1 can control this game coming into number 3.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Things are heating up here. I wonder if Atlas has taken off his jacket yet, or if he's still in his full 3-piece suit, even though it's boiling.
Too committed to the 3-piece. I love this suit so much. I've worn it on 2 other occasions. One of them was a world final. The other one was my wedding. This is how you know that I guarantee this is going to be an incredible series. Those were the other 2 best days of my life.
We thank you for your work, Atlas. It's greatly appreciated. As going into this game number 3 draft, no surprises, although that Yone ban coming out on the side of T1 here. Aurora still going to get taken out. The Ashe still up, Skarner still up as well, Jax available. Skarner, Jax would be the kind of no-brainer 1-2 here for GenG.
The BLG approach, as we like to call it. Certainly a favorite for them in their semi-final that went pretty well, you could say, for BLG. We'll see whether that is exactly where GenG are going to go. not deciding to switch up the picks here, as it will be the Jacks to be locked in first. And I think that, you don't talk about hovers is something that we sometimes talk about. This is a hover that you can probably talk about.
Yeah, I think you'd be pretty confident with that one, Atlas.
Yeah.
Especially with Keen. Now the question is, will it be a third game? Skarner, I'm gonna hazard a guess and say yes. Canyon, of course, has showcased a wealth of different champions. His Maokai win rate this year is almost as good as his Nidalee win rate. I mean, the man is very versatile in terms of the jungle role, and they're actually, based on the hovers, holding off on that lock-in. Chovy's win rate with Ahri so far in the best of fives hasn't been the strongest, but last game he had the Veda over Faker. He was able to have a lot of mid control thanks to the Ahri pick and what was happening around the map. And we'll see what the response is here from T1.
Also ties into Chovy's approach. Often as a player, if he thinks a champion is the best, we'll just keep picking that until the antithesis is proven. Renata coming through. Again, Keria having an incredible game, and we were calling for this, and I love it here as well. Always gonna feel strong. The only thing for GenG, you do have the opportunity to pick up like Ezreal here. Doesn't mean your jungle pool is gonna get pinched, but getting a non-stationary AD carry, I think, is gonna be a really big deal, because otherwise the team fights are gonna be really hard to play out.
Depends what he has planned. Could be something else here as well, as that Ahri Nocturne combo that they swept through Swiss with is going to be locked away. Canyon, he is sick of playing this Skarner, and I could understand, no shade cap, but I don't know, it just doesn't do very much damage. You only build health, it's just less fun than Nocturne, who does slashy.
You are setting up very clearly for a Tyson pick here for GenG. You imagine that's going to be away by T1. The backline threat onto the Ashe is very lethal. The Kindred, I think, is... it's a really good matchup into the Nocturne here. He just went out on the skirmishes, so they're going to remove that. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Vi removed, to be honest, with the amount of mobility on the side of GenG. Just take that away from Oner, one of his best champions.
Yeah, protecting a lot of bans as well, because T1 basically have to ban Kai'Sa Ezreal. And so it's going to be relatively telegraphed what they're going to be taking into this game. Of course, T1 not too worried about it, because Ashe Renata is just universally strong.
Yeah, I was about to say, Ezreal's another, but I think the Ziggs makes a ton of sense, given what we've seen so far. And
then you get Ezreal. So I guess that's the 3 picks that they were happy to grab. And if you've got 3, then you're not too worried.
Noteworthy as well that the Sylas did still get banned, even though Chovy did a really good job in that matchup. Still and I think it's because of the Nocturne, right? So much of the value is because you're the one is the Twitch Nocturne actually gonna be denied here, and I think it makes sense given how insanely annoying that looked to play.
They thought that Lehens was going to go back to his Shen. That's what was going to happen. As there's the Ezreal, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, he could still theoretically play Shen, but it's not going to be.
I like this GenG draft. I really do. I think it's very solid. It makes a lot of sense in the context of how GenG like to play. These 2 last picks are going to be crucial. The mid jungle from T1. Faker has had a phenomenal world so far. Pairing up alongside Oner, they've been doing a good job together. The question is, what plan have they got for Canyon Chovy?
Let's just see. Wanting probably a little bit of physical damage from that mid lane. We'll see where T1 are going to go. Never mind. Okay, Yasuo could be an option. The Akali really found him, and he's going to lock it in. I think if you were watching Worlds last year, you understand this is one of the ones that Faker's pretty good at. Hasn't been playing it very much this year, however. Still, this guy has played competitively like 80 different champions, so he's fine. And that's going to be the Vi locked away for Oner. Although they do have a bit of time to think about it, I still think that they don't need to worry. And so it's relying on Vi and Ashe as far as that physical damage is concerned. But I think the damage profile kind of okay. It's just range that might catch them out. But the way to start fights is what we were looking for after game 2.
It's such a peak T1 comp as well. So much upfront burst, allowing you to play towards that bailout, which is something they love to do. Oner on a champion with a lot of engage and playmaking potential. What is Lehens going to pick here? This time the Blitzcrank is open. But it looks like instead they're going to go for something a lot more well-rounded, and he did have a really good game on it in game number 2.
Yep, the pretty standard option. Like you say, actually playing for Lehens' comfort is a really good idea after what we saw in game 1 and the rest of this tournament, because Lehens has kind of been the weak link here for GenG. Not in game 2 though.
Now, when we think of Faker, there are a slew of champions that you can attribute to his name, right? Of course, Akali is definitely up there in terms of a champion that he's had a lot of presence on, but Knight yesterday beautifully demonstrated what this champion can do to an Ezreal. And that is what T1 is envisioning in this game. The level of execution damage is incredibly high. And when you've got a Vi there to dive alongside you with the potential of the Ash Arrow pick, no cleanse is going to save you from a Vi and an Akali duo, but it's about being in a position to really execute on that, because GenG have a lot of skirmishing threats themselves. The Jax was a huge problem in the previous game. I can tell you right now, Ash isn't going to have an easier time in this game compared to the Caitlyn on the last one. Renata's going to be crucial in the usage of the ultimate, and I think that, again, GenG have a pretty straightforward and easy comp to execute.
I would agree. I think that there is a lot of pressure on T1, but I want to go back to what you were saying, Chronicler. This is a T1 draft. We were watching the World Final last year. The only difference about this one in comparison to that is that was a mental snowball that they were rolling on, right? This was a T1 that was sweeping a series. This time, they have to utilize it to come back from a deficit here after losing game number 2. But here we are onto the Rift. See whether they can make it work.
Gonna be looking at the lane assignments. Also do know Chovy going for a grasp again. Would expect him to try and keep Faker down, particularly those first 6 levels is where the Akali can really struggle.
Certainly is. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, you need to log into your Riot account on lolesports.com and earn watch Worlds Live to earn exclusive emotes, icons, capsules, all that cool stuff. We've got a little bit of time here. You're not going to miss too much, so you can hop on over and you can get that one done just to get some free stuff. It's really cool. Okay, Zeus is standing on a wood. There are a lot of bad guys in the brush.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, there's the charm that crashed down as well. It's a dead Gragas. It's going to take a little bit of time because he's relatively tanky, but still, that's first blood going over to Pays, and maybe that makes Faker's job a little bit harder.
That ward so crucial. Spotting Zeus out. I don't think Chovy's flash was necessary, but he committed it anyway to guarantee that pick. And GenG start off game 3 with first blood.
And Chovy's flash doesn't even matter all that much because it's Akali that he's laning against. Not a lot of kill threat in the first 5 levels. So he should be absolutely fine navigating this one. He's also, Chovy does kind of like the laning phase in general, as we're going to see standard lanes here for likely the first time.
Do have Pays now walking up. Tear from the start.
Oh, God.
Something you're going to be very happy about just in what it means for your spikes, because obviously it doesn't really give you any combat stats early. And in this lane, Lehens and Pays are just playing to clear the waves, don't be diveable, and get to your items. 2 items for Ezreal is always the main breakpoint. From that point on, he only gets stronger. And we do see both junglers starting on opposite sets. Canyon, I think, started his Raptors, then path down. Whereas Owner just doing a full topside clear and maybe looking to impact this bot side. And these trades are actually really valuable because it could set up for a possible dive towards the bot side of the map.
I will say, it's nice to see move away from the lane swap, only because while T1, I think, in the Swiss stage really had phenomenal execution on the lane swap, this, to me, is the bread and butter of Gumayusi and Keria. Their 2v2 laning prowess has been so incredible. And while I think this summer, of course, question marks always when it comes to T1 and summer, at this World Championship, watching this bot lane 2 versus 2 has been a joy to watch. And you're seeing it right now. They know the strength and the advantage they have. They don't care about the tier. They know that with this Ashe Renata, they can bully this duo as much as they like.
Yeah, and I think that this is the biggest benefit of not having a lane swap this time around, and it's curious that GenG didn't decide to opt into it themselves. Maybe just saying that now that we've got a kill on our Ezreal, we're going to be okay, but a tier doesn't really give you a whole lot of stats. Still, the fact that the wave is going to be pushing out and Pays can pick up a bunch of farm underneath the turret, that's going to be okay, as Faker only hit by the non-true damage part of the Orb of Deception after a couple of abilities go his way. Not going to be feeling too bad here as he's playing with his health bar into Chovy in this lane.
Now the Ahri Akali matchup is pretty interesting because once you get to level 5, you can actually start winning out very easily on a lot of trades for the Akali, just because the bonus movement speed from the W makes it very easy to sidestep the E from coming out from the Ahri. The problem is when you go for the electrocute over the fleet footwork, it's very easy for Chovy to kind of chip away at your HP bar when you're trying to farm, and it means the Faker's in this awkward spot where he now needs the wave to bounce back into him, which is happening, fortunately, but it's this weird, awkward middle ground where he's now relying on his Doran shield to kind of mitigate and heal back up in this mid-term level laning.
It's also, again, the grasp, and I do think that we have seen in the past players really get caught off guard by just the extra amount of health that can give you. Akali in particular plays around kill windows so well, but if your first couple of plays don't end up working out and you fall behind the curve, it can be really hard to play out. As obviously Canyon just wants to do exactly this, which is just farm, and even though they don't spot him directly, if they see his top side is down, we'll know that he's on the bot side of the map. But it's an early game Nocturne, not really expecting a lot, but that does mean that Keen is actually in a really awkward spot. His wave state not looking good, already chunked to half, and Owner is on the top side of the map.
And full information over to T1 as well as Canyon walks over that ward. They knew exactly, they had an idea of where he was, but then they get full confirmation. Now Canyon going to try and clear that one out. Does get information of the ward he just walked over.
Read the movement.
Yeah, as a result, Keen actually just going to go for a recall right here, not wanting to risk too much. And despite the fact that Faker is sat on below half health for the majority of this lane, he has kept these minions really pushed towards Chovy. So it does give a lot of control over to T1.
Yeah, it's very awkward for him because Chovy's holding onto a monstrous freeze. The idea is Faker, you try and get those early pushes in, then you get the bounce back. But Chovy's like, no, I'm good. Now the wave will finally bounce back, but he ticks over to level 6. Ideally, Faker wants to back now so that the wave will freeze here. And now Chovy's back is a little bit awkward. He's going to try and interrupt Faker. It will be crucial if he does. Massive,
oh, wow.
massive,
He was
massive.
on that ward, as we could see. I thought he was actually just a prophet, but no.
Oh, they've actually brought the bot lane over towards mid to catch this wave. Faker can now actually TP bot and go lane against Pays, who can still...
Oh, body slam going to miss. That could be a big deal here. They're evening out the health trades that have been going pretty consistently in Zeus' favor.
Chovy looking to TP back towards his lane. Will be able to do so. And the first objectives spawning now. We have the Grubs online. Drake's there as well. You can argue either team is very happy to just wait till level 6. You have the Vicon position on one end, a Nocturne on the other. It's just going to be a trade here. Does mean that this time GenG not going to have the Jacks with unreasonable amount of Grubs.
Certainly
feels good. T1. This time it's going to be a trade, so it's not going to be the Grubs team picking up all of the dragons as well. Feeling a lot more even.
Grub secured, and I think both teams are quite happy with the current game state. Obviously, T1 are setting their sights on a top lane player right now. Keen level 6, as those resistances. No Ash Arrow available yet.
Yeah, Lahan's looking to get himself into position. I think they had an idea that something was going down. Notably, Canyon not quite level 6 just yet. Doesn't have that paranoia up and available as T1 don't opt in for any sort of dive attempt. But Keen still wanting to get aggressive on Gumayushi, who does have to cleanse. Pushes him away, so just going to be able to settle for the summoner spell and just move off.
Nicely as well, GenG have moved Pays out of the bot lane matchup in towards mid, where he's much safer. That means that they can keep Chovy into the Faker matchup, where the Ahri can continue to bully out on the Akali. With level 6 coming through and level 7 being a crucial breakpoint for Akali, just because she's going to get her Q at level 4, which I think it's either about 80 energy or about 70, but it makes the Q rotations much more comfortable when it comes to trading in the laning phase.
Vision control here for T1. Do have Canyon, but he's backing, wanting to spend his earned gold from
Ash
those
Arrow.
full players.
Oh god, okay, the arrow is going to connect. The counter-strike wears off, but there's a cease and desist! And he can't flash leap strike out of that one, and even though he had the Grandmaster's might, he's still going down. That is going to be a kill going over, equaling things out.
Good job, guys. Good job, good job, good job.
Classic T1 trap, springs on Keen, get a kill onto Vi, and also get the flash out of Keen.
I love that you called it a classic, because it truly is that idea that T1 makes it look like they've gone back to base, but they stay on the map a little bit longer to catch you pushing that wave out, and it works to perfection. They're able to equalize the kills, and T1 find their first of the game.
And I love this. I feel like it harkens back to something that Chovy was talking about in the tease earlier on. The fact that, Faker was known so much for these mind games that he plays. I think it's all of T1 that does those mind games now. It used to be maybe a little bit too much with excessive Barons being started every single game. Becomes less of a mind game and more of a, you do this every game.
A bad habit, perhaps.
Yeah, kind of. But they are always just trying to push these advantages, trying to find opportunities where their opponents don't have enough information to be able to do what they want. So really nicely done here from T1 to try and claw back a bit of control of this game. But right now, plate should be going over to Chovy here, as Guma not going to be too worried. Canyon, level 7.
Again, it's a relatively slow early game. Kind of what we've come to expect from these two teams as they prioritize farm, but also it just goes to show how difficult it is to kill these players.
Like,
there's a reason why Gumayushi went deathless for so long, and he still only got a single death through his name, even though GenG absolutely stomped.
KDA.
Yes, it is.
Oh, you love that.
And it's a situation where both teams just play the map very well. They're constantly fishing for opportunities. They're playing for these early plates. But it's the grubs now become the next big point of contention. A minute away. Both junglers already setting up some vision around the top side of the map. Keen, I imagine he wants to get a quick base in before the objective spawns, but that could be a window for Guma to already then push out mid and then set up on the top side river.
As we get into this fight, on one hand, how is GenG going to be able to absorb the amount of backline threat that's there? Because T1 can split up a fight very easily with the Greg Assault, and obviously he has Owner to start him out.
Trying to come on through here as Zayas is looking to take the fight to Keen. Does find some nice body slams. There's the slowdown as well. Leap strike just to try and escape, and you can see Canyon. Oh, he was looking for a potential angle as Keen able to sidestep, but that does buy some space. Still, Owner not going to be committing because they didn't know exactly where Canyon was. That could have been a follow-up.
I'm actually very surprised. Keen had no flash, and Owner with ulti was in range. I think he could have committed, but I guess because Keen hadn't used his E yet, they were hesitant to really fully commit to the play. Regardless, the damage was done. Zayas has already gone back to base. He's now back out onto the map before Keen has had an opportunity to, but Keen's TP is available. Are they going to contest this?
Just have to say, I think 6 grubs is going to be pretty valuable.
Oh,
for
not the
T1.
TP.
Yeah, the teleport flank angle is coming in here. Keen, good position to start this one off. He's just beelining right in there. Paranoia comes down. They do throw out the ulti. Carrier trying to keep them at bay, and oh no! There goes Lens, and now Faker is caught on Keen, and he's going to wait for the
Yes!
and that's Faker's Akalia Worlds, ladies and gentlemen.
Good job, good job.
Faker coming in huge, but it's
the
from T1 that's the biggest thing here. Chovy couldn't join that fight. I think GenG was expecting them to back off when the Nocturne came through, but T1 said no, we can take it, and they take a big lead here in game number 3.
We talked about how this composition is very much true to the style of T1, and their ability to take these early skirmishes wasn't there in game 2. You can see how prepared they were. Owner and Carrier were the focus at the start of the fight. Carrier, though, has the passive to be able to reborn, and then, of course, also has the ultimate available, too. So the TP comes in, a nice flash comes out, Carrier doesn't care, he's getting the Gragas then arrives, and crucially, as you said, Chovy can't join the fight.
Most of that fight that came in, Faker gorgeous on the 5-point strike there.
Oh, Reckless! Oh, Reckless!
With Reckless in the back. Feeling pretty happy about this one. And Helper and Mata getting more and more stressed as this game goes on. Still, a lot of game left to play here. We are tied up in this series. We'll see whether GenG can claw their way back to an even game state after that big lead has been acquired. About 2.5K.
Oh, but
T1.
Pace has got to have to do a lot of heavy lifting. A lot of the gold for GenG is on him, but into a Fed, Akali, and Owner also getting bigger and bigger. They're looking to punish Keen. Again, this Jax not having a great time. 4 men at the ready.
All right, Canyon does have that Paranoia up and available. They know exactly where he is. This is a big gamble if GenG do decide to go for it. Once again, Chovy is very far away, but this time has the teleport up and available. Nice little stun to come through there as Keen now with the Counter-Strike on cooldown. They're trying to deal with these waves, but another one combo lining in. It's more of attrition, looks to just be going in T1's favor, especially with all those grubs, the Void Mites and everything like that. GenG just going to back away.
And T1 no, like we don't have to dive this, we can just poke them down. The only way with the range that GenG has that they can never really push back is actually but because of the vision, T1 knows everyone is in the area. Chovy was showing on top wave, and they weren't worried about a possible collapse.
The timing was fantastic as well. T1 had gotten a deep push into top side, which meant that Chovy went to go and answer. Bear in mind that he's a large part of GenG's wave clear, so while he's present top, it gives T1 the ability to 4-stack bot, They then keep Zeus in mid. He catches the wave there, and they don't really lose anything. Sure, Zeus lost like half a wave in the top side of the map, and crucially, Chovy does have an experience advantage over Faker, but he should be able to claw that back as long as he starts matching in the side lane. He's got his fully completed rocket belt, which means that he's now going to be a much more of a threat.
Oh, Akalia ပေါ်မှာ ရတယ် Rift ရေးယူလို့ရတယ် ဒါပေမဲ့ Gragas ပဲတတိထားမယ် Gragas ကြီး
doesn't
တ
want
တိ
to
ရ
fight
ထား
for Herald. And when you look at these two compositions, it does really feel extremely volatile because they are both so short range. You really, once you find yourself in a deficit, extremely clean with your fight selection, as this turret will go, but the Herald might drop in there.
That's going to be even more money going over to T1. They're happy to trade these turrets because this is so much more map control, as Canyon's doing his very best to try and clear things out. Dustbringer should be able to help, as there's the charge, and this turret is
Lobby,
long for
กินไล่ด้วยก่อนbye bye baby
he has his
Oh,
prime, and it's oh, never mind, not another charge. That's a smite coming through. Maybe it was it's a double kill. He's able to get the arcane ship, but just barely clipped by the hostile takeover. And GenG cannot do anything this game.
I mean, it's just a beatdown from T1. If game 2 is 6
oh god, okay, there's going to be 5 people towards this top side of the map as Pazel going to try and get up in there. Another card. Keen is just being thrown around by a ragdoll, and it's another kill for Gumayushi as a result. GenG not able to do anything. Faker just utilizing the second portion of his ultimate because he can, and it's all of a sudden a 6,000 gold lead.
It's just a relentless barrage of punch after punch, and T1 are not letting up. They use the arrow mid. Lehens with a slight overstep gets collapsed on. The burst damage from Oda and Kuma mean that he jumps first. Canyon thinks that he can punish Carrier. But the way in which Oda turns this around, connects the Q, the ulti to follow, the Ash passive is stacked.
ဟိုဘက်ကို scanner မပေးနဲ့ဟိုဘက်ကို scanner ပေးတိုင်ပတ်သွားမှာ
And what's crazy is they didn't even slow down there because Faker was pushing out the top wave. They turned to top. They get an objective as well. They get another kill.
ပြောလို့မရနောက်ပွဲကျငါငိုဝင်ကောမှာ
It's gone from bad to worse for GenG in this one, but T1 really showing that this bounce back was real. And coming into this series, they'd only played on blue side one time. This is the third time they've been on blue side this whole world, which is kind of crazy to me because they do love this side of the map. They've demonstrated to us that this series is not going to be any different. And hope, like, what I'm
ပြန်လို့မရအောင်လုပ်ပေးလိုက်ပြီအေးချိုးတာချိုးတာချိုးတာ
T1 when they are playing a comp that feels like
Nice one.
Is on something like we saw last game is night and day.
I mean, there is like a perfect example for this. We have the stats for Keen on Jax in the last game. If you compare that to what he's doing now in this game, it is absolutely night and day. And Zeus on this Gragas in comparison to the Maokai is incredible. Speaking of which, he's going to get tagged by that arrow. Still, there was no one there to follow up, so he's just going to be denied a turret take. That's going to be down very, very low, but still not going to be the money going over to GenG.
Look how scared they have to play as well, and the only saving grace for GenG, which by itself is not enough, is that they do have 2 dragons.
Hey, come on, dragon die you, dragon die you, dragon die you, dragon die you. Hey, go.
We all know that as soon as the Baron is online, they're going to just start pulling it consistently. This Drake, obviously GenG, never going to contest, but I don't think GenG is ever going to give, or T1 rather, is ever going to give GenG the opportunity to get to the point where these gold leads matters less, right? When you have the 2 items on base, when Chovy can get to the side.
Yeah, it's going to continue. Gile bell tamale, gile bell tamale, bell tamale, gile bell tamale. And if Faker gets into the shroud, Zay's going to hold the kill, and now Faker is looking to try and get in there for more. Dashing after Canyon and Keen.
Hey, bell tamale, hey,
it's just Faker at the moment, but now you can see they make the paranoia comes down. Decent realization of the counter-strike, but Faker's going to get on the kill. Faker at the same time, and Pazel almost hit by that handshake. It could have been worse, and it's still a disaster.
No mercy will be shown to their domestic rivals as T1 just run through GenG once more. There is no power for them to get. 18 minutes in, and they are slaughtering GenG.
And GenG.
Oh,
the only reason why Baron isn't taken is because we're 18 minutes in.
Yeah.
It's 9-1, 6.5K gold lead here. And GenG, they can't even get near the waves.
Game 2 was systematic dissection from GenG. They controlled the map, they were patient, and T1 were suffocated. But in this game, T1 are just brawling. It's a sledgehammer. It is a beatdown. And sure, a bit of anti-synergy there as there's knocks Lahen's out of the way of Faker's E. He flashes to try and cancel the back, doesn't quite get it in time, but he says, guys, I'm not letting my ulti be wasted. You better collapse here. Here comes Ona, and then the follow-up comes through.
T1 from his winning position, they're always going to be looking for more and more aggressive side lane punishes. And GenG, not respecting pace, just has to watch his teammates die. Nothing that he can do there.
Travel on the shuriken backflip there as well from Faker. This guy, when he plays a Kalia Worlds, it is just a beauty to watch as we're straight into it once again. Magnus Storm going to come down. This could be a Faker's carrier. Actually more tanky than we might have expected. T1 is in on the action still. He's going to go down. The path just to remove the pace. Gumayushi's on a rampage. Keen is on the floor, and T1 are looking to shut out this game.
Carrier doesn't even die, gets the full value from the bailout. The TP comes in, and they're not going to relent. Chovy and Pace just, again, have to watch their teammates fall one after another, after another.
T1 is just crushing GenG with their wallets right now. GenG admirably tried to find the pick, but you said it yourself, Atlas, Carrier way tankier than they were expecting. And while they expected to one-shot Carrier, he bought enough time to allow T1 to collapse and turn it around. Now, the Baron is on the Rift. Another bad fight for GenG will result in that objective falling. And you can see the vision coming through from Lahen's. He chopped 3 wards in a nice little triangle, I guess, to just try and make sure that they have some semblance of information.
Yeah, maybe something won't get swept.
With how deep in they are, like even a good fight might mean Baron is gone, but maybe you get like a bounty or 2. Things are looking dire, and unlike some of the previous games, the ranged wave clear is really lackluster when it comes to these Baron minions.
Oh, handshake going to connect there. Not a lot of follow-up onto Lahen's as they didn't have a lot of information. Red buff is the prize that they're looking for, but it's going to get reset, and it looks like Ona should be able to take control of it. Into the Shroud goes Faker, now Paranoia. They think they might have them where they want them. As over the wall goes Chovy. He's got the flank angle, and they take down Guma to start off the fight, but it has to be paid for by Keen. Now a 4 versus 4 as T1 look to rally back into position. Can they win the fight without Guma is the question. He's so much of their consistent damage. Is now Chovy dancing around, not able to find too much more, and T1 back away.
You're completely right, Atlas. Losing Guma is a lot of the damage gone, so T1 have to be a lot more careful. Faker had his ultimate available, but they chose not to take the fight any longer. A crucial flank from Chovy. He's been largely invisible in this game, quietly farming on the side, but you look at his itemization, he is on I mean, he's ahead of Faker in terms of itemization. So there are still avenues for GenG to turn this around, but they need to find more picks like this.
A very deep TP starts this off, and it's hard to respond for T1 because they don't have the vision. The Nocturne denies them so much, but this is where the wallets come through. Even with the carry being taken out immediately, GenG don't really have an opportunity to chase for it, because if they get another kill down to maybe Faker, you turn it into a Baron, the game might be playable. Instead, it's a moment of respite, but T1 still have a very tight clutch on this game.
Faker actually looking for Chovy here as he gets into the Shroud. The rest of T1 now moving up. The arrow not going to connect. As GenG are now looking to back away. Now it's Zeus' turn to start a bit of an engage with a body slam. And this push and pull, GenG putting that phalanx back together. All about this Baron right now. No one really being able to get too much ground.
Crucially, the Dragon is completely exposed. The bot wave has been pushed in by T1. Faker commits his ultimate to try and force something out from Chovy, but he holds his nerve. Doesn't get dissuaded. Still has his ulti available. The problem is all of GenG was shepherded to the top side of the map, leaving the mid lane exposed. T1 get the objective, and now they can turn to the Dragon.
True Shot Barrage is going to spot that that's exactly what T1 are intending. Only going to start that one up, but you can see Keen so far away from this on that bottom side of the map, and it's because the map is so incredibly wide and dark that it's very difficult for GenG to get down there as Lahen's trying to set a trap here for anyone who unwittingly moves towards his top side. The Drake will just be taken here, evening out that count 2 for 2, but next one going to be very, very scary because 4 Drake Hextech souls sounds touchdowns are unbeatable. Shattering Strike going to get a fair bit of value here, but
Hey, I'm on Davi.
as Faker looking for them, still dashing forward as the paranoia does come down the stun.
Nice one. Hey, Ari, no.
Is perfect, and now Chovy
Got it, got it. I lost it,
with that Spirit Rush and T1. They accept that they're going to take that pick, and they're looking for more now as far as control of this map.
You've got to remember that T1 just took a dragon. They need to get the resets through. Crucially in all of this, while the trap was turned on its head, notice that Chovy has a 2-level lead over Faker. He has been over-grouping, and he has been denied a lot of farm. Even that top wave just now, he conceded over to Zeus to make sure that he was getting the resources. And while there are advantages across the board, Chovy becomes the sole win condition for GenG. If he's able to find those picks, if he can find an opportunity, then there is an avenue back into this game for GenG.
And while the Baron damage for T1 is pretty solid, right? You have Bypassive, you have Gumayushi, who will shred through it fairly quickly. It's so hard to deny Nocturne access to the pit. True. And we saw T1 themselves show that a single Baron steal can be enough to turn a game on its head. And T1, I imagine, is going to be looking, unless they get a really good Baron opportunity, just start stacking these Drakes. Because the Baron actually does a ton of damage, even as we get this late into the game. You gotta have to really respect it. Not really the same for the Dragons, but that, even if you end up going for that, as dangerous as a 4 Drake Hextech Soul is, that's 8.5 minutes from now. And at that point, the gold lead isn't gonna be quite as useful. I think T1, they're gonna look for a pick onto someone, turn that into Baron, and truly break the back of GenG.
Well, Chovy hasn't been back to base in what feels like a decent amount of time, because he's been sitting on exactly these items for the last, what feels like 7 minutes or something like that. But now GenG are poised. They're in their jungle, understanding that T1 do want to look for this Baron. They do have control vision of the area. They can get over these walls pretty comfortably. Zona going to dive into the back of the pit, take down that ward, and now T1 are going to start this one up. Paranoia can get Canyon into that pit anytime he wants, but they do need to get vision of it. They find that vision right now, and T1 immediately back away. The amount of respect being shown this game is incredibly high. T1 not wanting to give an inch.
They can just keep doing this, though. Keep forcing cooldowns. Eventually, GenG is going to run out of wards, run out of scryers, and they are going to have to face check.
They don't have the blue trinket on Paze. I know, it looks like that on the bottom of your screen, but it is unavailable. It's the only one on their side.
There you go. Ezreal, just to check.
Yep, that T1 are playing with the pressure that they have well. Forcing GenG to this uncomfortable position. Resets have come through from T1. Vision replenished now for Carrier as he makes his way back out onto the map. Faker gonna go and catch the bot wave as Chovy gets ever closer to level 16.
Faker ပဲအောက်လမ်းကိုသူသွားတွန်းလို့ရမယ်။ဘာလို့ဆိုသူ Ari ကိုသူရှင်းချလို့ရပါ
Maybe it hadn't been as long as I thought.
I guess
It's a city of the game might be playing, attributing to that one.
It's a surprisingly tense game, considering the gold deficit that GenG find themselves in. And I really do think it's because you just keep looking at Chovy, you see how strong he is on this Ari, and you have to respect it. T1, though, doing what they've done all game. They move into GenG's jungle and say, by the way, this belongs to us. Please vacate the premises as we take all of your jungle camps.
Yeah, and this is the thing. This is the slowly but surely drawing out the advantage, right? This is the safe way to win the game. T1 have been known to take some liberties as far as advantages are concerned.
Oh, yeah.
And this time around, not necessarily doing so as much. But what it's doing is giving Paze time to get farm, giving Chovy time to get more levels and farm himself. And so maybe when Paze has 3 items, Chovy has 3 items, that could be a time where a fight can be better here for GenG. But I still think that T1 have a lot of great tools in these team fights later on. Zeus on his Gragas has made magic happen. T1 and on his Akali needs no introduction. And Gumayushi on this champion that, if given the space, can really lose control. I mean, I think that this is a recipe for success for T1 unless GenG does something miraculous.
I love that you said T1 on Akali as opposed to Faker on Akali, which actually
it's synonymous, right?
It's synonymous. It's perfect. And the level 60 now hit, as you pointed out, Vadi Chova's getting those free items hit. And it's really weird because I do feel like T1 was absolutely demolishing this game. I still think they are highly favored in this game. They're going to get the soul point, and I don't think GenG really has any thing that they can do about that. But there's got to be a point where the inhibs have to start falling, or the Baron has to be threatened as the check comes through. Obviously quite early, not really going to spot anything.
Those 2 dragons were so valuable because it kind of just bought them time. They can choose to concede this objective as well. The top wave being pushed in, GenG playing the side lanes, forcing their hand. And what felt like a beatdown earlier. It felt like that we were going round for round in a boxing match, and T1 was just generating point after point after point. But now we're kind of in this back and forth. A lot of dodging's been happening, and GenG have been able to stall out enough where it feels like their stamina has been regained, and a single good punch from them could be enough to swing the whole game.
Especially now, third item does come through here for Paze. He's feeling a whole lot better in this game right now. And on his Ezreal, we know that Ezreal can do some pretty ridiculous things as the game goes on, thanks to Elk for letting us know. Paze is no stranger to it. This was, in fact, one of his first mains that we ever saw. Him in Challenger is something that Chronicle will not shut up about.
Well, I was going to talk about it, actually, but thank you for being
That's good. That helps. That goes with the plan.
Real smart.
Well, no, I don't have to.
I feel like you've cast with him before.
Yeah, no, I've seen him around.
Every now and then.
He looks like an imposter. He looks like Chronicler from back in the LCK, but he's got this moustache, so it can't be him.
As T1 desperately tries to catch someone of GenG off guard. For T1, though, the guarantee of the next Drake setup is amazing, because GenG has only 2 Drakes, so they can very happily give that up, whereas GenG 100% is going to have to play towards that Soul. I know that in theory you can do the, okay, you get Soul, we get Baron, but it's Hextech Soul. We saw in the previous game how hard the game becomes to play out, and Guma's volleys alone are going to be an absolute nuisance if you're trying to play, particularly if you're trying to play very far forward, very aggressively. The slow makes it so hard. GenG still setting up these traps, but it's so easy for T1 to check.
Yeah, Hawkshot is a pretty powerful ability. True Shot Barrage not going to find any joy here as Faker on a flank angle taking control of the mid lane, and you've got the split push and Gragas. That nimble large man moving in the bottom lane, trying to put pressure on GenG.
I don't know if you guys ever get this, but I have this weird feeling that Chovy's going to do something really crazy.
Like in your waters?
Owner.
Oh yeah, Owner was thinking about it. The arrow is going to go wide, but still Spirit Rush has to be invested as Paze gets caught by Handshake, and now over the wall they go, but Owner might be going a little bit too far. You've got Zayas coming in though, just trying to be the hero, and speaking of heroes, Faker finds Paze, but not enough damage. Lehens, the first to go down in the exchange, and now GenG unscattered. Paze is dead, and Zayas says, you cannot take this back. It's going to be Canyon that goes down next, and T1 will take out this inventory. It took a little while, but I think they're just going to move through and win Game 3.
And all that tension deflates as the turnaround is found. T1 not going to let GenG claw their way back in this game. Canyon tries to flash just to clear the wave.
Chovy left on his lonesome. He's going to need to be that hero as these minions are going to now join these mixes. Just tried by some goes golden alongside Faker. X is not going to go down. Perfect execution.
Holy shit! Holy shit! Bro, I play live. Live is stream you. I'm going to play. Holy shit!
Just a fantastic team
fight. But we gotta go
to a break, so make sure you don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a bit.
T1 နိုင်ဖို့တပွဲပဲကျန်တယ်ဒီတပွဲတော့နိုင်ပါကွာကိုလေးဖိုင်နယ်တက်ချင်လို့တပွဲပဲဒီတဲ့ကိုအေးမြပါserious as ADC and D1 အေး Renata နဲ့တော်တော်မိုက်တယ်တော်တော်အဲ့ဟိုဘက်ကဘလို့မှဒီကောင်တွေရုံထွက်လို့မရဘူးဘာလဲ Renata နဲ့ Ash ကိုဒီကောင်တွေလုံးဝရုံလို့မရဘူး
ချတဲ့ရုပ်ပေါင်းတွေနန်းတွေကခါတသက်လွမ်းတွေကတအားရဆက်အချက်တွေလဲပြစ်တွေပဲစိတ်ဆင်းရဲစရာဖြစ်နေခဲ့ရှေ့ဆက်မဲ့ရများမှနားလည်မှုကအခုတော့မရှိတမပါတယ်မင်းရဲ့အပြုံးတွေများနဲ့အခုလဲကြည့်ပြောရဲလို့ထင်နေလေတကယ်တိုင်းကြတော့မပြောနိုင်ခဲ့မခွဲနိုင်တာကခုချိန်ထိပါမင်းမသိတာကဲဝေဘူးမင်းနေပါ
about ADC meta? No more ADC. Only people. Who loves it? Huawei. EP ADC me lane bar. Harry Masol. What down? Copyright ထိအောင်လုပ်နေလားဒီလေးရဲ့100 million ရတဲ့တချေးမှာငါ့ကိုဖွင့်ခိုင်းရတယ်ခါရဲ page ပါကြာသွားမှာအဲ့ဖွင့်ရင်Emily တော့တော်တော်ပျော်သွားမယ်အဲ့ तू က T1 ကိုအားပေးနေခုလေပွဲအဲ့ဒီဒီမှာရှိနေလူတွေအားလုံးတော်တော်များတယ် T1 fan တွေပါပဲ GenG နိုင်ဝါရဲ့အတန်ဟုတ်တော့စိတ်တော်တော့အဲ့ပါဩ right ထိရကြောက်ပါတယ်ဆိုတော့ right တချင်းနေအဲ့ပါနေ
Oh, can I G, than jump, Nayo, using Nane, Molon Lelon, two and Nama, Yata, Keko Yatan, and Dwebi the rapper, you, free size, so pretty Joe, G, sorry, I might have just, and I got coming in the piece out to the G, Yaji, great, Miriam Ho, show where they got mad and no, a cold on the Mama pie, show and boat.
Me and so they yo, like I want it, oh, me and so they yo, like I want it, oh, me and so they yo, like I want it, oh, me and so they yo, like I want it, oh.
Me and so they yo, like I want it, oh, me and so they yo, like I want it, oh.
Suck music.
Me and so they yo, like I want it, oh. Me and so they yo, like I want it, oh.
Jango myo, jango nene pyo me. God is so young jet, Benya Chichi Messi show there, the Jade Miga Pet, so Yanni are you now, what are the legends that do dope and young at Chango South, don't I told, show where go to, what's in the pippy, let him a car, so messy the Janet, I be the Navy place, I mean, you take what I seen down shot, I got go, shout, everybody that shout, hip hop show where down, then they won't have boat, think, Gwen okay. Do it, I've been in the sound, I try to break the shit. Microphone, logo, when we know say hey yo. Robot it, look at it, I'm engine at the name yo. Mr. Luffy, never chilling and bombi the thick panty. J1 bar, Gando, တဲ့ပေါ်တင်ကြီးမနာတဲ့တောင်းတဲ့နေတဲ့ဆင်ဟောက်ကပေါ်တာတပြုတ်ငါတဲ့ဆိုတဲ့ရုပ်ဆိုလက်ကင်ပွားနဲ့အိုးငါတဲ့မင်းရဲ့ဆိုတဲ့ရုပ်လက်ကင်ပွားနဲ့အိုးငါတဲ့မင်းရဲ့ဆိုတဲ့ရုပ်လက်ကင်ပွားနဲ့အိုးငါတဲ့
Gragas ဒါပဲအဲ့သုံးကောင်ဘန်းအဲ့ဆိုရင်တော့ T1 plan ပြောင်းပါရမှာဘာမှမဟုတ်ကောင်နေ map ကိုကစားတာ
ရန်ကုန်မြို့အားလည်းရက်ပါတီတရှိတဲ့ဘက်ကိုကားနဲ့ပတ်စောက်ချုပ်တွေအားလုံးကိုထားခဲ့ဆက်သွားမယ်
First one panelist မမီဆိုးချက်ဟိုမှာလေဘယ်ဘက်တောင်ဆုံးပါလေအမဲနဲ့
တောင်းရချက်တွေကထိမနိုင်သိမရရှင်မကြည့်နောက်မကြည့်လက်ထဲကအောက်ရှိဝင်ဝါပါတွေကုန်အောင်တော့ပြီးညင်ဆုံးကိုရောက်ရှိအာယုံလာနောက်တိမနေတွေဆိုပေါ်နေဖောက်ပြီးငါတို့အကြောင်းတီချင်နေလား rapper တယောက်ရောက်ကုန်မေး
ဟုတ်ကြမိုက်တယ်နော်
rap တင်မြို့ hater တွေဝေးတော့ကြောက်လို့ပြေးချောက်လို့ skill စောက်ကိုပြေးပြီးရှင်းမလာကုန်ပေါက်တဲ့ကောင်ကြောက်လက်ထဲကအလွေဖြစ်သွားတယ်တို့ကိုပေးလိုက် scale
ကိုပြေးလိုက်တာဟောချင်းရော Jax ကိုပြေးတာပြေးပြီးတော့နိုင်တာမိခုံလေးနဲ့ဘယ်ကိုခုံပါလဲတဲ့
ရန်ကုန်မြို့ကြီးတဲ့လူတွေလုံးနောက်တစ်ခွက်ရွှေလိုက်ရှင်မီလူပြီး legendary
ရမှာ
ကပိန်ကောင်းနေဆိုဆက်ပြမြေသုံးကိုတက်ဖို့ကပောက်
Ronaldo လည်းရတယ် Ronaldo
မင်းရဲ့ဆိုတဲ့ရုပ်လက်ကင်ပွားနဲ့အိုးငါတဲ့မင်းရဲ့ဆိုတဲ့ရုပ်လက်ကင်ပွားနဲ့အိုးငါတဲ့မင်းရဲ့ဆိုတဲ့ရုပ်လက်ကင်ပွားနဲ့အိုးငါတဲ့မင်းရဲ့ဆိုတဲ့ရုပ်လက်ကင်ပွားနဲ့အိုး This is surgery လို့ပတ်စံတဲ့နိုင်နာတဲ့မော This is surgery လို့ပတ်စံတဲ့နိုင်နာတဲ့ရုပ်
ငါတဲ့မင်းရဲ့ဆိုတဲ့ရုပ်လက်ကင်ပွားနဲ့အိုးငါတဲ့မင်းရဲ့ဆိုတဲ့ရုပ်လက်ကင်ပွားနဲ့အိုး
ငါတဲ့မင်းရဲ့ဆိုတဲ့ရုပ်လက်ကင်ပွားနဲ့အိုးငါတဲ့မင်းရဲ့ဆိုတဲ့ရုပ်လက်ကင်ပွားနဲ့အိုးငါတဲ့မင်းရဲ့ဆိုတဲ့ရုပ်လက်ကင်ပွားနဲ့အိုးငါတဲ့မင်းရဲ့ဆိုတဲ့ရုပ်လက်ကင်ပွားနဲ့အိုး
music
ငါတဲ့မင်းရဲ့ဆိုတဲ့ရုပ်လက်ကင်ပွားနဲ့အိုးငါတဲ့မင်းရဲ့ဆိုတဲ့ရုပ်လက်ကင်ပွားနဲ့အိုး
မင်းတို့ချင်းတီမဲ့ကောင်လေးလာပြီ
ဒီမဲ့ကောင်လေးလာပြီတဲ့
Yo Jimmy Jacob Mr. Luffy Swag Yo ရန်ကုန်မြို့ကိုသားမြို့
Out of position. A big discussion that we've had here backstage is, for me, there's a difference between ADCs in terms of Guma and Pays, in that I believe in Guma and in that bot lane, even from behind or from even, not just from ahead. And even though Pays has done things to dispel that in summer, right, Emily? Outside of the finals, I don't know. You know, when he's... And here he had an opportunity, right, if they scale further into that game. But then it's him who gets caught out again. And I don't want to put everything on him because the whole team lost that game, right? But it is these differences that you need to look to make.
But I think that's the thing. It's like pressure makes diamonds, right? And unfortunately, when we look at finals in LCK, Pays didn't step up. And then you look at the game against FlyQuest, it feels like, you know, Hanwha found the issues in GenG. FlyQuest managed to crack it, and it feels like T1 are finally breaking those foundations here, where you're not getting the big performers. They're not finding GenG these late matchups where they can be super successful, take over in the mid to late game. You're not having your carries perform. And now T1 are saying, no, we're going to go to the style that's worked for us. We take over in the early game. We play through our side lanes well. We get these cheeky Baron sneaks when you're least expecting it. It feels like T1 are still playing to their identity on an international stage, whereas GenG feel like they've just lost themselves because those doubts have started to sink in.
Yeah, and I want to pull up GenG's record over T1 in the LCK and internationals, because I think it makes T1's performance here so much more impressive, right? They are the 4th seed. They are 1 game against KT away from not making it. And here you see MSI 2023 highlighted. We had already set it up in one of our prior thing. I think it was you, Dagda, that said that, where they got the better of them at an international event at a very crucial moment. And now they're on match point once again, now at Worlds, defending their world title.
It all hangs in the balance again for Chovy, you know. I wrote down under GenG in my preparation as a log line, if this team can't win Worlds, who can, right? But I feel like in the course of the tournament, we've seen other teams perhaps adapt better. And I think for me, that's what they're going to have to show. In the same vein, though, I'm not ready to write this one off because we haven't seen a team break the red side situation yet, right? So T1 would have to do it here.
Yeah, I mean, if they can't, then T1 or BLG can, that's for sure.
The adaptations are proactively being taken away by T1. Smolder, gone. The draft is already set up for T1. We know what you are like. We know GenG inside and out. We know what they're going to and they're stopping them every step of the way. T1 are in their heads. And I don't know if GenG have a comeback here.
And all year, we've been talking, or I mean, I know I've been talking about Knight versus Chovy, right? Like, we want to see this matchup. We saw it at MSI finally. This was going to be our destined world final, but in the way stands Faker, and this is a rerun of that Chovy quote where he, again, would know this more than anyone because he's had to deal with it domestically. Now he has to really step up, prove himself against Faker to make it to finals.
Chovy has to step up. GenG is a whole lot of step up, and we've seen it from GenG before. Spring this year, Game 4, it was the Kazakh pick from Canyon that completely changed everything that series. GenG are never counted out until that bell rings, and this is where they have to find that magic.
Let's go.
Beautifully said. Let's head over to our cast.
Thank you so much, Dak. I think that's such a good point because I want to give everyone some faith that we could be going to a Game 5, right? Like that's the main thing, and we're already straight in the draft as the Callista and Desire are still going to be banned away. And I saw that little look on your face there, Connor, but I'm also not that psyched about it. I want to see a little bit more adaptation. I don't know whether Desire is a necessary ban.
And given Guma's performance and how comfortable he is on the champion, it makes sense, but I'm a big believer in when you see a champion even in the games where Ash wasn't able to actually get over the line, I feel like the pick has just felt so strong. It gives so much utility while also being a lane player.
Well, now they can first pick it. Now T1 is saying, hey, by the way, T1 ban Aurora and Ash. And GenG is going to take one of the Aurora comes, so you imagine the Ash first pick. T1 now have the choice around, do they want to grab themselves the Vi? It's proven to be very effective, but also what is their answer into it? Because the truth is, Guma hasn't really shown something like an Ezra, right? This is not something that he goes to, which we've seen as a typical answer at Worlds. Jin would be his likely response, something like the Caitlyn would be his usual, maybe a Draven could come through. But given the current meta, with all the presence of the lane swaps, I'm not sure how effective they are.
And I was going to say that this is something we've seen come out sparingly this Worlds. This was Gumayushi's best champion for a long time. His steals banned, steals hearts, it's incredible. As Ona just cleaned out just a little bit there with the hover of the Kindred. We'll see whether he does go back to that one. As he's hovering over quite a few options, the Skana could be a great pick away, and he is going to lock that one in.
Is this in case of emergency, kick Canyon middle situation again? Solid come up against FlyQuest. I'm seeing a very slight smile on that man's face, and this was the pick that brought GenG to Silver Scrapes. He's single-handedly, and they're just running it back.
阿子一拖嚟啩，阿子一拖嚟啩，阿子一拖嚟啩，但係一個對面，一個阿子一呢對面，我拖嚟。
I mean, Canyon's Italy, what else is there really to say? I mean, you're 100% right. Jax would be a great pick. It looks like that's going to be the lock-in for T1. Double 80 carry comps. Jax loves those. His E gets so much value out of it.
Gragas 都冇，Gragas 計玩啲咩？我都 Gragas 會擺埋諗啲個，Gragas 會擺唔擺？I really don't know about Aurora's style. Aurora,
the middle comes through the ban of the Cassante is so crucial for Keen. I think that it's such a safe top lane pick. Just in general, but in Keen's hands, it's also a devastating carry threat that you don't want to run the risk of getting. Now on the side of GenG, they got to pinch the mid lane pool a little bit more. Maybe they remove the Ahri for themselves. No, they're actually targeting Carrier. They're really trying to limit the options that this bot lane has.
Yeah, playmaking for Carrier, I think he is a great pick to target, especially when Carrier's coming off the wing, because when he has that mojo, when he's feeling it, it can be very scary to go up against this guy when he has confidence. Bomb's going to be taken away from your hands.
And also from Carrier. I actually really like that ban there from T1.
What feels most likely here is the R4 on Renata. Trying to get strong 2v2 and play through that, but it does open up a land. That's something that I don't think they necessarily want to go towards. And they're going to save the counter pick, and this shouldn't come as a surprise. I do worry about the Ari, as we have seen it be pretty hit or miss, but it's Faker, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Faker's Ari. Like, his Ari has been very good at this World Championship, and I think that it makes it, like, this is a very GenG-esque comp in the side of T1.
It is.
Meanwhile, GenG,
Ash Poppy.
A decent amount of value here, both into the Ari and into
Ash
the
Poppy,
Jax.
Playing towards Keen's team fighting as well, I think is a really good idea in this game, because I think that when Keen is under pressure, that's what he plays towards, not necessarily smashing lane.
They need a Leona or a Rao right now. They need some engage to come through from GenG. I think T1 might be thinking about a Rakan, which is why they saved it for later as well. Because crucially, the Maokai is also used as a response, but...
Oh, is he cooking?
He's going to lock in the Maokai anyway.
Okay, Maokai was so Maokai boy.
They don't know what's going to go where, and it also locks out the Rakan pick. The main reason why we see this Maokai is because it is so strong into the Rakan.
Yeah,
and now there's Poppy as well. Yeah.
So actually creates a bit of an awkward scenario.
Rakan
Is it a pike angle?
Oh,
that's
pike!
Fun. I don't know whether it is. Pike! Certainly be. Oh, yeah, it's a pike angle.
It's always a pike angle.
For Carrier it is. Those bone skewers are targeted for this guy. Watching that series blew my mind.
Oh yeah, give me a jammy.
Give me a jammy. This could be fireworks on the bottom side of the map. With some experimentation here right now, it looks like the Maokai is going to be going into the support position, and Keen will be taking the Poppy into the Jax on the top side. In the LCK, this is seen as a really good matchup for the Poppy, and so something that Keen has played around before.
I think even internationally we've seen it do wonders into the Jax matchup as well, especially if you're confident on the Poppy. The crucial thing for me is when playing Ashe, you need lane prio. Sorry, Ashe. When you're playing with Nidalee, you need that lane prio. We've seen Canyon succeed so well at playing around the strength and push of his lanes to put pressure on the enemy jungle, and like it is the way in which old school Damwon thrived. The laners play for Canyon. I mean, me and Quickshot back in the day used to have a thing called Ring the Beryl, where Beryl would cover for lanes to help them push out waves so the Canyon could keep farming, right? This is a champion synonymous with this jungler, and it's so crucial that his laners give him the prio to play the champion to perfection and allow him to thrive in the ways that he so often does.
And we're all hoping it goes to game number 5, but if this doesn't work for GenG, then I don't know what would have, right? I know that Tristana not in the spot that she was before, but you somehow get both Tristana and Maokai, which was a combo that was basically never be allowed to play, while also getting Canyon Nidalee.
That is definitely an incredible thing. However, this is T1 at Worlds, and T1 with match point. Moving into this game number 4, a date with BLG next week in London is what's on the line, and there is only one step left to take.
And they are double Halo Bladesing that we remember from spring 2023. When you see
double
those
Halo
keystones, the enemy bot lane is about to have a bad time.
Something's going down. Something is definitely going down.
To fight. It's just unbelievable that T1's even in this position. I feel like that so many fans that only watch internationally think this is just another year for T1. Like last year, reigning world champions here in the semifinals at match point. Of course, why wouldn't they be here? They were also top 3 at MSI.
Well, the thing that's ridiculous as well is that last year, if you look at summer, it ain't a great time for T1 either. So maybe fans are just like, oh yeah, we're used to this. Yeah. You just have a little bit of a lull before you come back up again. It's like the swell of the ocean.
Spot him with the sweeper. I think they spotted each other.
Information now going over as bonus.
And T1 outplayed him. The invaders come through from GenG though. Going to be able to steal away this buff. We'll see how Ona responds as we get standard matchups. Now this bot lane I feel is very volatile. Ashe lanes typically give you a lot of control. Boris is a lane bully in his own right. He gives him a lot of control over the lane in a similar way that the volley does to the Ashe. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Chovy leveraging his pro. We talked
ကြော
about
က်
how
ဦး
important
နော်
that is
မော
for
င်း
the
ခိုင်
mid lane.
နဲ့ပိုက်နဲ့မလွယ်ဘူးနော်ဘာလို့လဲဆိုတော့မောင်းခိုင်ဝင်လာလဲရေးမကြည့်ဘူးဘောင်းပြေတာဝါလေးဒီပြေခွန်ဝိုင်းပြီးသွားပြီပွဲอ่ะ
Game 5 against FlyQuest on his smolder. We're going to need to see absolute domination, stay ahead of the curve, make sure that these items come in at exactly the right times. All right.
กินလိုက်တော့ baby เอ้ยပြီးသွားပြီနှစ်ကောင်လုံး
They'll take that, and this is a T1 bottom lane that, yes, we've always known that they're capable of. We haven't really seen this level of aggression for a long time.
Paze even went for Halo Blades himself just to try and be able to trade a little bit better. Stack up that passive early.
The main thing for
GenG is that the bottom lane is still alive and relatively healthy. We also have Owner on the opposite side of the map, and Canyon is starting, or should be able to build a lead once the actual full care comes through because he got that early buff on Owner's or in Owner's jungle.
Ona, I think, actually expected his Gromp to also be taken. He took the wolves, then path back up towards the top side, which is the most frustrating thing for T1. Because you look at that bot lane matchup, and we're like, Ona, dive now, please dive. But because of his pathing, it's hard for him to actually be in a position to really set that up. He's setting his sights on mid after Faker got a really nice trade onto Chovy.
Yeah, Ona now driving in, looking for Chovy, just gets the flash. I think if the rocket jump must have been on cooldown, that explosive charge and be absolutely fine. Meanwhile, setting up for a potential dive is another max range bone skewer going to connect from Carrier. This guy, it's targeted, right?
That's now 3 flashes down, and for a pick as volatile as Pike, that is a playground. You have so many lanes to play through. Owner, will Canyon hold off? They are going to know with the saplings. Canyon, I think, is going to try and play through the fog, not try and show himself.
Yeah, Carrier moving on over. Was hit by one of the traps there, so information was given as to his whereabouts, and they will just back away.
If that back completes, that bot lane is not surviving.
So, momentum-wise, you feel like everything's going the way of T1. The bot lane 2 versus 2 is
moving out on the skirmishes. They got both the flashes in the mid lane. Faking out trading Chovy. Numbers are going to use CS lead, but still going well overall. What's crucial to remember is that Canyon is continuing to farm. Canyon's Nidalee is not terrifying within the first 4 minutes of the game, but for every minute that goes by, this champion will continue to get stronger. Keen in the top lane matchup continues to do well. It's a tough matchup for the Jacks as well. And so GenG definitely don't have to be too terrified, even though the bot isn't going the way that they would like.
I'm also wondering if Canyon thought that Owner took his blue, because his blue has actually been up since the start of the game, because they they read the early play Paze, right? So I assume Canyon made the read. I figured when he went to his Gromp, he would have seen it, but Keen.
Oh yeah, there's another bone skill being charged up. First one that he's going to miss outright. And Keen will survive.
Ice cold.
Yeah, I like that. Just continuing to walk. It's the continue to walk strategy, one that we haven't seen for quite a while. No jukes abound.
And Chronicle has been talking about this, the impact of the supports, right? We saw it from Carrier Game 1. Game 2, we saw Lehens very active on the map. Game 3, I think both supports were trying to make plays around the map, but with Carrier kind of just finding those advantages because T1 was finding advantages. But now Carrier's on a champion that has so much agency, but his AD carry is alone.
Oh yeah, Gumiyushi in a lot of trouble. Does have to use that cleanse. He's going to take some damage back though.
He did do that thing last year.
Yeah, I remember that thing.
I was about to say, they did buff the lethality virus a little bit more, and as you rightly said, this man has a bit of a history on this champion.
I'm actually surprised it hasn't come out more this Worlds, to be perfectly honest. I think it's in a decent position, especially in the hands of players like Gumiyushi, who are so incredibly good at it.
We talked about it on the way here, didn't we, Atlas? Where, like, the mobility and how, like, in the meta it feels it can be difficult to play, but in a position like this...
Yeah, Faker looking for Canyon, trying to find that opportunity, scaring him with where this charm might go. Point blank, the charge,
nice one, baby! Nice one!
Not enough, and first blood goes to Faker's Ari.
Faker, baby! Faker,
that's the biggest thing here, because Ari has been such a curse for so many teams. We actually have the stats here for both Faker and Chovy, and it is a different story when it's the unkillable Demon King that has it as another charm. Executes Lehens. They do try and even out the fight as Faker. A great start for the defending world champions as GenG do manage to get back some control of this grub pit, and I believe for the very first time we're going to trade a couple of grubs instead of just taking 3.
That's such a hefty prize though. Lehens gets blown up, but it's the kill on Canyon in particular that is the biggest thing here. early on getting taken out. Faker further accelerated and Chovy on a nerf Tristana, not able to find the impact as this couldn't be a better time for this graphic to come up.
No, exactly right. Here with match point in hand, Faker on a champion that he's been synonymous with for a very long time. There's quite a few of those, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Oriana, Azir, Ryze, like
but this one has a special
skin. A pretty good one. This one does have a special skin. LeBlanc also has a special skin, and the win rates for both his LeBlanc and his Ari are about equally ridiculous.
So world skin aren't special anymore?
Yeah. I mean, they're all special. I was just saying that there's a lot of special.
Extra special, okay.
When everything's special, you have to sort of redefine where it lies, you know?
Now, GenG have a stacked wave on the top side. T1 have read the play effectively. Faker's on the rotation. Carrier.
Yeah, can he charge it? He does find a knockback onto FaZe. There's a crash into the wall as well.
Bye bye. 真係啱咗你，啱咗你，跛過話邊撈都唔下烏咯，跛過話撈都唔下烏，跛過話撈都唔下烏。
And we talked about the momentum earlier.
I got
but it feels like that this train just continues to ride in the way of T1's victory.
And Lahens, that was a journey he did
not
want to take.
So yeah,
I think with a lot of the jungle Maokai, you learned the lesson pretty quickly. If the enemy champion has a dash, do not just W in. Did it there. Gets
對啦 ，get 咗你邊，你 W 呢根本會呢，沒有好啊，特卡咧，阿咪幫，阿咪頂咗嗰度頂話嘛好啊。
Only 8.5 minutes in.
You wouldn't think, watching this series, that GenG have been the father of T1 for so long in their domestic history. Because Worlds T1 is just a different beast. They are the only team in the world where the plotline truly seems to be unbreakable.
Yeah, the script really just seems like, as much as you talk about it, it still seems infallible. As, all right, looking for a bit of an opportunity towards Gumayusi, but he does the walk strat, moves away. Carrier will be able to move back up again, trying to dodge vision as he does get back up there, but is going to be spotted on the edge of that ward. So full information does go on over. So moving into a state of slightly less action as we look towards maybe a dragon take. Of course, that hasn't been looked at just yet. Still 10 minutes into the game, would be a relatively late one.
And one thing to do, keep in mind, is that this game still feels less explosive than the previous Pyke game we saw. And T1 did have some issues closing that one out.
They
Pyke,
did.
As good as Pyke is, and for as long as we've seen Carrier play this is type of the game state that you want, and I think we need to see more objectives, right? Like, I think the gold alone is nice, but I want to see dragons being taken early, and I want to see that Rift Herald take down that mid lane, because the moment that control of the map is ceded and vision starts to drop, that's when the Pyke feels unpunishable.
And I also think that this whole series has been about who can play the game plan that they wanted to play coming out of the draft. And I don't think that either team is being denied just yet. In the shellackings that we had games 2 and 3, it's because GenG and T1 both enabled their win conditions so incredibly well. This time around, we haven't quite seen that happen just yet. Still an opportunity for GenG to try and turn the tides of this one with moving Chovy into side lanes, obliterating these turrets and creating leads that way.
The only problem for GenG right now is they're not in a great position for grubs. They have just secured the dragon, which is a nice pickup for sure. However, on the top side of the map is T1's bot lane. Zeus does have the TP available. I mean, I'm pretty sure he has it available at the very least in a few seconds. So this is going to be a difficult objective to contest, meaning that 4 grubs will go in the favor of T1.
Don't let it go. No possible contest, and a Nidalee composition that isn't able to snowball early objectives.
And a Tristana composition that doesn't get a decent amount of grubs.
Yep, quite rough, and there is vision. GenG obviously knew that this was happening.
Oh, Carrier looking for a bone skewer on his on Keen there towards the top side.
Canyon pathing back towards top, ready for a potential dive. Knows that Keen needs to catch this wave, and he's working with Chovy to clear out some vision. Nice spear connects. We're going to be saying that a lot this game, I feel.
Yep.
We'll see how impactful those spears end up being, though, as now these neutral objectives fall away from the Rift. We turn back to a neutral game state, and these teams turn their attention towards the remaining planes. 2.5 minutes remaining until those fall off completely, and you're going to be seeing teams cross-map. Look to try and secure as many of these as possible to funnel that early gold injection to get ready for those first items. As you can see, Malignance and Heartsteel already completed for Faker and Ona.
And it's so interesting thinking about where team fights are going to go later on in the game, because I feel like anytime a Poppy exists, any team fight can go towards the Poppy team if that ultimate is going to be used effectively, especially when it's, you know, say Owner gets an amazing ultimate and then gets just Poppy ulted away, and then, you know, if it's a 3-man ulti, he just dies. That could be kind of funny. Certainly some interactions that could work out there, but it really does change the tide of how this game is going to work.
There's also a lot of champions on T1 that rely on their mobility to make plays in fights, right? Pyke is the most obvious one, but even for Ahri, it's the case as
so
they really have an angle. They don't have vision, so they don't want to risk it. Their way, but the fact that the Maokai, even with Lahens having a really rough performance so far, in team fights, in theory, should be able to do something like, look at the game state, look at the map state. Keria is everywhere. Paze just keeps having to drop waves. Owner's looking for a possible punish now and reinforcement. I don't know if you have time.
Corruptions would have just killed Paze, especially with the Scorpion making his way in. Lahens a little bit late to defend the summon spell of his lane partner. Still just plates going over for T1. As, man, that bone skill very, very close. Lopping down the tree. That's what you do, right? You lop down trees?
Yeah, it's correct, actually. That's the perfect terminology.
Sure.
Herald, going to be the next objective that Lobbing will be commencing. We'll see who gets that objective. As right now, the T1 members are resetting. Vision needs to be replenished. Gold needs to be spent. GenG going to push out these waves. We'll give them initial access to the topside river, but it means that they haven't. No Blade ranking completed yet for Paze. Or even Static Shiv, rather, I should say. And we'll see what direction he goes as...
Yeah, and getting Gumayusi onto that single item before Paze gets there as well. We know what this guy can do with his Varus. He is just exceptionally strong on this pick as Keria continuing to be annoying. And like you were saying, this guy is pretty good on Varus, as we can see.
He's somewhat familiar, yes.
This feels like a Hail Mary here for GenG. If they lose
can't
this
start because Gumayusi's on Varus, like we were talking about. You can't do that. We're talking about plot armor. I mean, that's to bridge too far. Owner is just trying to bully them out of the area.
Faker's actually gone back to base. He does have the TP available. He's going to commit it now to the top tower.
Might even be able to grab an outer before he makes that flank happen.
This is it.
Should be able to lock it in as Keen gets in there before the arrow gets down. Slightly mistimed, but yeah, Keen was already softened up. And you can see Zayas makes his way to the lane. They are taking control of the lanes as GenG are committing onto this Rift Herald. Chains of Corruption going to connect onto Lahens. He's just dead. There's nothing he can do, but Keen gets rid of 2, and now Faker, he's able to dance his way out. Keria, he's burning, but he should be absolutely fine. Regens that health because he's out of vision, and Chovy still in a little bit of trouble. Zay's going to take a mid lane out of turret at the same time. They take the Rift Herald, but at what cost? Way too much cost. They give him 2 turrets.
A kill goes over again. And the Herald alone is never going to be able to recuperate all that loss.
It's a devastating position for GenG to be in. The lane economy snapshot represents the difference in gold right now.
I would say there's an economic advantage for
slow မှာလဲ slow ရှိလားကဲပြောအလေယူပြောတာပဲပတ်ကြည့်လားဆော့ပါဆိုပြီး I'm sorry
ဦးစောမလို့လေ
ဟောနေအောင်ခဏနေပွဲကြည့်နေပွဲပြီးချမယ်
ကြီးရော
Because they need to.
Well,
they
and
mids to secure those outer towers. They got level 11, and then after they were trying to collapse. But of course, getting a pick is still worth it after securing those objectives. Second dragon of the game will go towards T1, equalizing that up.
Oh god, another one! We got the big souls in this series, and also this means that we've got head skates. So teams can fight a whole lot more than they otherwise would. Also gives you a little bit of leeway for movement around the map as well. And certainly feel good to try and throw forward.
I also have to apologize, my AD carry animation, Kraken Slayer.
Hey, watch out there,
Gonna be the first item, a valuable first item, of course, the additional attack speed, but it still doesn't solve the problem of into this Jax. We've already seen how AD carries fare when playing into this in game 2, when T1 tried their hand at the double AD carry into the Jax. But the presence that Zayas is going to be providing in these fights is going to make it very difficult for Chovy and Paze to play optimally.
Oh man, T1 going to be able to clean up the last remaining outer turret here as well. Faker going to claim credit for that one on his Ahri. Now looking for a back angle. Is he going Interesting itemization here, a little bit of a stretch away from what we have seen otherwise as the Lich Bane does come through. This is something that used to be in vogue a lot, but I think a lot of players have moved away from it towards the Liandry's instead. But Faker has really liked Lich Bane for a little bit of extra side lane power.
And I know we've mentioned it a lot as a hold that thought lands might be in trouble again, but looks like he's going to be okay. Although Guma...
Oh, manages to catch him on the juke, and he explodes one more. Owner's like, all right, let's just turn away. We are not required.
Lands. 0-7 in the last game, 0-4 in this one. Just not able to be where he needs to be, but I want to performance because this team was... if you experienced it, you'll know, the team that played against KT could not be further away. And I know they do it every year, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it is such a transformation, because it wasn't just the meta, right? It was also the cohesion of the members, the confidence.
I mean, remember that in a world where there is no fourth seed, T1 isn't here.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
It's just Damwon takes their spot, or D plus Gear, my apologies. But the addition of that fourth seed, allowing T1 to be here, for them to be in this position. In the past, they were denied that when they did have those slumps. They didn't make it to the World Championship, but they are an organization, and that man in the mid lane is a player that has never missed a semi-final.
And also, if they manage to win here this year, it's 2 fourth seeds from the LCK winning in the last 3 years. That's kind of insane. But that's even a thing we can talk about.
You guys need to stop.
We are getting a bit ahead of ourselves. We are definitely getting ahead of ourselves. T1 fans are definitely getting nervous. I apologize. I know I'm like not even allowed to tweet about this team anymore, if you know that.
But the
as soon as I say anything positive, they lose.
The reality is that the position that they're even in is already in and of itself ridiculous, considering the path that they took to get here. Which is why their performance right now should be reveled, given how well they've been able to level up. Now, as you rightly said, 5-0 is the score, the lead that they have. 5K is the gold lead. Baron swarms in 50 seconds. Dragon in a minute 50. GenG still have elements, they still have tools to turn the game around. It all comes down to whether or not they can punish T1 for their mistakes, and if they can find a good angle to turn these fights in their favor.
And GenG have been pushed many times this year. TES brought them to 5 games at MSI after a 2-0 lead. They were able to persevere.
Oh, Faker looking for the chant, doesn't get it. On to Canyon there, but gets the true damage on that Orbit Deception. As Lahan's allowed to drive once again. I don't know about it.
Hey!
Immediately, but he's able to absorb a lot of it still. The answering Impale is so good. The arrow is going to connect onto the backline, onto Carrier to deny.
Nice one,
bone skewering anyone forward. And GenG, I mean, it was dangerous, but they get out of there after the charge, just not earning that much.
A very tense back and forth as T1 is able to protect their mid-tier 1. GenG, the idea was pretty promising there. The Ash Arrow didn't actually connect onto the Skarner. If it had slightly further away from the tower, that could have been an opportunity for GenG at the very least to get a pick. But it connects onto Carrier on the back line, which they really couldn't follow up on. Ultimately, though, no one ends up dropping. GenG have good setup for this top tower.
We'll see, it's going to be a fair bit of damage onto this one. Spear is going to be coming out perfectly. There's the twisted advance. The charm goes wide. Faker's dead. That is going to be Canyon taking him down. Trying to be Canyon. Strike stun.
Not to go. Don't lay down. Dragon. Oh, Dragon up to the Baron.
He baits them into death. And it's Baron started for T1.
Every T1 fan has seen this one before. You think you catch Faker in the side lane, and GenG, they know they can't contest this Baron. They're just TPing to mid to try and get something in return.
GenG just wanted the tower. Faker TP's in. They sit there and say to themselves, this should be an easy pick. His ulti wasn't off cooldown, but the collapse was crucial. GenG, I don't think you can do this Dragon. They're going to start it, but the collapse is coming through. Faker's back out onto the map. Zeus as well.
Got it. Give it to you. Tower alone be here. Easy way.
Devastation. We've got 2.5 minutes of T1 with Baron. They're going to start by trying to take down this Dragon. With the resets coming through from GenG, there's not going to be an opportunity. Gumayusi coming on over. We'll start to make short work of it. 2 items for this Lethality Varus. T1 really just have GenG exactly where they want them. This is such a change from what we saw in this exact matchup in spring of this year, but that was a very different GenG. That was a GenG that looked impossible to take down. They took 2 games then. They're looking to only miss 1 in this series if things continue going the way they're going. GenG with opportunities to try and create miracles, but it's looking like they're going to need exactly that. They want to make their way back into this one. Only a 4,000 gold lead. Still looking pretty rough.
I mean, worlds aside, the fact that T1 is even getting revenge for a rivalry that has been so GenG favored domestically in and of itself is impressive as we look back at the dive. The idea, I mean, it makes so much sense from GenG. Dive onto Faker. He's an easy pick. Even if the TP comes through, we can turn it. But they don't expect Honor to collapse this quickly as well. Beautiful flash from Zeus to get that stun for Canyon. He leaves the tower to finish off the kill, and they convert it onto Lehens as well.
So because he hit the perfect spear to set up the initial damage, because there was a wave, not a big one, but would have been enough, but as a result, takes so much damage. Baron still here for another minute. GenG just desperately clinging on to their world's dreams.
Steadfast presence now on cooldown for a little while as T1 look to set up a 5-man siege on this inner turret. 23 minutes, it's quite difficult unless the Bone Skewer comes through. The arrow is denied by the ulti from Keen, but now with only 2 stragglers, Zeus will explode. It's Canyon that locks up the kill as Keen dives in once again. Pei is able to take down Carrier, but it's Gumayushi standing tall and taking down Keen. Still a positive trade for GenG, still huge news.
Keen actually diving in there, denied the ultimate from Carrier. Otherwise, Carrier maybe could have gotten the resets, but because Keen jumped to his death, no resets for Carrier. He ends up getting focus going down. And it's not enough, but think back to the previous game where GenG held on tenuous for so long.
T1 have shown tendencies at this World Championship to overforce. They throw the ultimate out, a beautiful response from Keen to create a numbers advantage. They have the confidence then to turn it back as they get a kill onto Zeus. And you'll see here this play. Nicely done from Keen to avoid the resets from Carrier. He knows how dangerous that could have been. And sighs of relief as GenG stay fighting here in Game 4.
And Helper's not even there. I think that guy is just completely overly stressed at this point in time. I'm sure he'll be back as this game does go on, but there was a little bit of a grin on his face. As well, not looking all doom and gloom. They are still in this. We'll see. T1, Baron has worn off. 2.5 minutes until that one's back up once again. Still a 4,000 gold lead, 5,000, something like that. Not end of the world, but 2 items now onto Chovy. 2.5 on Pei's. 1-0-1 now, actually picking up a lot of that money in the last fight. Could be huge here for GenG.
Let's get done here for Faker. He's pretty strong. He is very strong. I would argue also just not transformation for Guma. So T1, you have an opportunity. The one Drake, not as good of a cushion as last time, but still is going to be a big difference maker for GenG. Means that they probably should be able to get it to 3 items on their double 80 carries. The issues don't stop there though, because Zeus on this Jax in a wonderful position is building towards that stopwatch as well, allowing him to play very far into the back line.
The problem I see for GenG is this poke is a problem. And Keen, I think it's going to be fine.
Extremely tanky.
Yeah, but the poke is a problem, and not only is it a problem, like, they don't have the best engaged tools. T1 have a lot of ways to just run away from a fight. Oda. What? Now, I don't think T1 need to be forcing this hard. Like, Dragon spawns in a minute's time, so does Baron. Ola committing his flash there, I think, is a bit of a fumble, because now he doesn't have the potential play setup with his ulti later. And like, this is a tendency we see with T1 sometimes when they have a big lead, they sometimes overforce. They did the same thing against top esports. They ended up still winning because, again, the gold lead is theirs. But they need to calm down because, as you both have already highlighted, GenG are a patient team. They will happily weather the storm.
I want to go back to the last game as well, though, because T1 were playing very patiently, very slowly, only taking the guaranteed advantages from around the map. This feels a little bit different. Might have something to do with that Pike being that good sidestep, but the charm is going to land here for Faker. That one chunks Keen. That's those 3 items that you guys were talking about. Faker also starting to get some Death Note stacks put together.
One of the few tools that GenG do have is actually Canyon's heal. Every single heal is a base heal of 240 going up to about 500. If you are chunked, that alone is not going to be enough, but it might be the mitigation that GenG need to at least try and contest. And it looks like they are not giving over Soul Point for free.
Well, Carrier is going to walk into Lehens here. Pike so incredibly squishy. There's the teleport from Keen. The front line will arrive. Chains of Corruption do go wide. As now Lehens, he's chunked out just a little bit, but he's going to throw his life away for a good position in a team fight. Carrier on a flank angle. It is going to be Ona taking Soul Point, but can they win the fight? That's a phenomenal ultimate from Keen, and Pays is untouched. Still Carrier explodes, pops like a balloon. Zeus has the counter-strike, but he has no friends. Faker dives in to try and save him. The flash on Kirby, and it's a double kill. Pays now standing his ground. Gumayushi can't do anything against GenG. Will ace them with Baron up and available.
Execution! Baron is alive, and GenG say we will not go down without a fight. You might kill him 5 times without getting He's got you right where he wants you, as the Baron is going to come through.
Oh man, and look, he may not have got the dragon or anything like that, but Canyon on this Nidalee, it always just seems to be something that can work out even when it's not supposed to. Late game Nidalee is not supposed to be a thing, but man, Keen coming in as such a hero.
The ultimate from the Maokai was huge. They're coming in from all angles, but Ona dying first. The target selection is great. They're all in the dragon pit. They then turn their attention to Zeus. A reset doesn't come through. Faker, he's only got, well, he does get 2 charges off. He tries to collapse on a Chovy to get the reset, but then a nice flash away from Chovy. Targeting the person in front of them. And with the double AD carries in a front-to-back composition, Gumayushi just doesn't have the consistent damage.
Well, Arrow gonna go wide as once again GenG are looking for Faker.
Not again.
And yeah, they're just like, no.
Look at that.
We remember what happened. Yeah, how? Like, what?
It's the most damage in the fight.
It is absolutely nutty. Maybe when he puts on Primal Surge, he gets credit for all of the extra attack speed that he gives his
I wish that we could watch that fight again, because I feel like there were so many things that we missed. But all that matters right now is that Canyon's level 16.
That's a 3-item Nidalee, ladies and gentlemen.
And now it's GenG that can begin their offense. The poke from them. We talked about Gumayushi's poke. Well, now it's Canyon's turn to get a bit of revenge.
And Vedi, in the previous game, you told about the waters, you know, the feeling of, oh, what if?
Because maybe it was just a game delayed.
Yeah, you were right, just a little bit early. GenG haven't done it yet, though, because all this has done is equalize the game, right, Cole?
Oh, my God.
But look at that jump upwards, and the double AD carry now.
All right, Boneskew are going to connect, but the spear does too. That is a decent impale, only onto one there as Lehens able to eat some turret shots, and he'll be okay. Man, that Primal Surge gave him his whole health bar back. And the siege will continue here, as Chovy getting more and more stacks in the spears as well. Level 16, and the spears are hitting one after the other. Faker, he wants out. He's going to kill that siege minion, and they will back away. Carrier, not wanting to stick around when he is seen on vision.
The charm from Faker didn't actually connect, even though Ono was able to land the ultimate. The top tower is now exposed as they turn their attention to mid to try and defend. They still have some towers remaining. But as you rightly said, Chronicle, return to an even state.
Dragon
and the Dragon Soul is on the horizon.
Okay, Soul Point လာတော့မယ်။ 1 minute ခွဲ။ 1 minute 30 1 minute 30 အဲ့ Soul Point ပဲရေးကြည့်တာ Soul Point ရပြီဆိုပြီးပြီ
T1 still will get the opportunity to get a straight up 5v5 for this Dragon. And they can even afford to give it up. I don't think they will, given how this series has played out. A minute and a half until it's available. As an elixir of iron, thank you for pointing it out, Vedi. For Keen, just trying to be as beefy as he can be.
He is, though. Like, it's crazy. The Sundered Sky, this front line is exactly what they need. I was worried about GenG's ability to engage, but around these neutral objectives, they're still able to find the fight. And what looked like a devastating collapse from T1, GenG handled it so beautifully. Summoners are coming up. Maybe T1 can find an angle before that flash is back up for Chovy and Pace, but I don't expect it. It's GenG with control around the Dragon.
The amount of homework that they're doing as well, you can see this vision shut out. Yep, lights go off. And there is an Umbral Glaive here for Carrier. They have ways to cheat vision in this game, but he's on Pike. You can't face check anything without just popping.
Yeah, particularly into both Maokai and Poppy. Another thing is that T1 doesn't actually have great hard engage. They have really good pick, which is why the game felt so one-sided. But outside of Owner going in, or like Guma, you know, going in with an ultimate, Faker hitting a charm, that is a lot more telegraphed, or it puts you in a position of danger. And engaging onto GenG is also a nightmare. Tristana is notoriously hard to collapse on. There's a Poppy and Maokai combo in the game. And there's a lot
it's fascinating how quickly the dynamic shifted, right?
It's just, it's ridiculous.
But they don't need to go for this, is what I'm saying. T1 can bide their time. I just don't think they will.
Yeah, Nature's Grasp going to cut out the arrow, connecting on to Owner. Chains of Corruption just try and buy some space with the flash. Under Faker, the knock-up, and he's dead. Pieces arrows follow him into the death chamber as the inevitable is decent. Owner still on.
T3I got T3 I got T3 偏高嚟啊！高啦，哎嘛，支隻ပြေ高嚟二嚟，滅機嚟到，不要關門嚟，爸爸關門嚟呀，偏咩看嚟呀？阿達未呀咩？多嚟打嘢，喏，人多啦未啲啦，過龍馬嚟打嘢，人多啦，冇多嘛，我冇啲啦，比不會比話比，哈哈哈。哦，咩，保得，啱啊！撈出嚟咗，哦，你問我呢個偷換立人，偏下講人後邊，俾我關埋嚟，俾乜關嚟，把乜變嚟，一把走咁少，咩搞啦乜，你睇回俾你。I know, baby, final.
What an incredible final game at the brink of a comeback. GenG's final fight is shut down, and in such poetic fashion, they catch Faker. He was the first to fall, but the rest of T1 rose to the occasion and turned the fight around. Once again, T1 will return to the World Championship final.
And I was getting flashbacks, gentlemen. I thought that maybe GenG were on that path to a Game 5, but it did not happen. T1 just said, no, you will not do it again. It is our date with Destiny. You guys, what did you think? T1 back at the World Final again.
Oh, Atlas, this team is absolutely unbelievable. I cannot believe they make it back. Well, they're making me believe, Jesus, that they're making it back to the final after coming into this World Championship as not the team we were looking at just like last year. It is an absolute enigma.
It was absolutely insane. And even then, when Faker was getting caught,
Reckless
I was like, this is
2017.
It was Samsung caught him in that same position on the Karma, but instead it's a different form of T1.
No,
with
Faker
this time.
The
reigning world champions will return to defend their title versus BLG now.
We'll get a chance to talk about, unfortunately, GenG's exit later, but I do want to first take a look at something that was crucial. He's on screen right now. Carrier on the pike in our HyperX Reflex replay, because you were talking about you needing difference maker in a moment like this. How many times has Carrier been that?
And that's the thing, you thought it might have been Canyon on the Nidalee, but it was this height
Oh my god,
catching out GenG, playing spectacularly in the this performance, because I looked at that
Wow,
man,
better with me so right, Digon, knock all over, go top like feel. Hey, I don't matter, I'm up your keep the old team winning. We've been at the
Highlight reel of Carrier in this game. He now is second in international performance assists. He just surpassed Xiaohu, and the amount of relief that you saw on his face. He's so, like, it's such an emotional moment for these guys. They've been through so much this year. The pressure of defending their title.
Bring it on!
Yeah.
Finn, I see you!
Guma egging on the crowd. You can just see the entire emotion behind them as well. It makes it so much sweeter to overcome the adversity they faced this summer. Again, like, to have them be able to be one of the few teams go back to back. It's them. It's only them that have been able to do this. T1, the org, back to back to defend a world championship title.
But think about how many doubts have had to be on them throughout this year.
Reckless world champion. It's a path.
Think about it, you come into summer, you barely scrape in. You go to 5 games against KT. You then you get knocked out by Hanwha in playoffs. You don't even make it to finals. Everyone is thinking this is the year T1 fumble. And we've got to look at a team like GenG to step up and take the mantle. A team like Hanwha who were coming fresh off the heels of a first place in the LCK. But no matter what, it feels like once you get to internationals, it is T1 who will always represent the LCK and always be the team you have to take down.
That's why we predicted T1.
Magic. And the world's magic is so real. I feel like we've had so many stories like this. I mean, like you say, T1 were 1 game away from not even being at this tournament at all, and now they're back into finals. Finalပြန်လာပြီ။အရင်နှစ်ကအတိုင်းပဲ။ Bin wanted T1.
Bin was laser focused as he was watching this game. We saw him with he's ready.
ဒီပွဲကို Bin ကလာကြည့်နေတာ။ Audience မှာ တောက်လျှောက်ကြည့်နေဒီကောင်တွေဘာလုပ်နေရလဲဆိုတော့ That's why I predicted T1 also today. Also, you know, kind of you can never count them out at Worlds, but last week being here, seeing the way they handled TES, right? And seeing how everything here was so electric, right? Those enigmatic players stepping on stage and kind of willing everything around them. I think it's crazy and it's going to be such a sick final.
I also, I really like the way they did it, right? Like their draft adaptations have been really, really good. I think they found stuff that's super comfortable for them and maybe not stuff that we would necessarily expect. Having them watch them all year. Dagda, you mentioned the swap that Keria had, right? From these range supports to melee stuff like
the most melee. But it does feel like that flair is back, right? It's like the T1 that they have a strong understanding of the early game. They can snowball through these leads. They have that magic in the draft where Keria can bring out a Pyke or anything that he really wants to. And it was GenG who just weren't able to keep pace with so much of that throughout this series.
And I love Shocks that the magic that you're talking about for the T1 team, it shows up in team play. It's not like, individual players, right? It is coordination from this team from LCK to now is so much more on point. In this game, you know, we're getting Lone Skewers getting picks, Arms getting picks, Guma's ultimates getting picks.
Grub Prio demolishing turrets.
Guma is going to be interviewed on stage with Lauren G. Sun in a second, so listen. Guma. I mean, what a bit of a showman also, the way he was just clapping to get them going. I think they're ready. The arena sounds ready for it. The Verizon post-game interview. The crowd wants it. Guma with Lauren G-Sun.
Paris, un tonnerre d'acclamations pour vos 2e finalistes, 3e fois d'affilée, T1 et Gumayushi.
Nice.
GenG les a battus 10 fois d'affilée. 10 fois d'affilée avant qu'ils arrivent finalement à les battre aujourd'hui et se hisser une fois de plus en finale. Quel a été le facteur déterminant aujourd'hui? GenG beat you guys 10 times before you finally defeated them today.
GenG 들어 세 커런 좋으나 나이나라 아쿠마 변나이와래.
GenG가 사실은 오늘 경기 전까지 T1 상대로 10연승을 달리고 있었습니다. 오늘 어떤 점이 달라서 다른 결과가 나왔을까요?
이곳이 월즈이기 때문입니다.
잘해요.
Because this is Worlds.
C'est les Worlds et on sait que pendant les Worlds, c'est une compète absolument différente. Mais qu'est-ce qui les rend différents? Est-ce qu'ils sentent, eux, justement, quand ils jouent ces matchs, qu'il y a quelque chose de différent? I have to follow up on this because we keep on hearing that T1 at Worlds is a different beast. Do you feel anything different when you play on the world stage that makes you pop off the way you guys did so far?
말씀하신 것처럼 T1은 정말
월드
나오는데요. 선수분들께서 월드 경기를 치르실 때 뭔가 다른 느낌이 들기도 하나요?
개인적으로는 좀 그런 느낌이 생기는 것 같고 좀 더 게임에 집중하고 몰입할 수 있게 되는 것 같습니다.
Personally, yes. Somehow I get to focus up even more and also I kind of get into the flow state.
il arrive à vraiment se mettre dans le bon mood, ils arrivent à vraiment se mettre dans le bon mood de façon générale et c'est ça qui leur donne la force d'arriver toujours à avoir les bons résultats, les résultats attendus pendant les Worlds. Et je me rappelle que quelque chose qu'il a dit l'an dernier en interview, c'était justement avant d'arriver en finale que c'était T1 qui dictait la méta aux Worlds l'an dernier. Et je me demande dans une méta aussi ouverte que celle qu'on a cette année, est-ce qu'il a I remember that on stage last year, when you did the interview, when you reached finals, you were saying that T1 is so strong right now because you are dictating the meta. Do you have a similar feeling this year, especially given how open the meta has been at Worlds?
작년 월즈에서도 결승 진출을 확정 지으시고 무대 인터뷰에서 구마유시 선수가 T1 월즈에서 지금 당장 강력한 모습이 나오는 가장 큰 이유가 우리가 메타를 지배하기 때문입니다라고 하셨는데요. 지금도 비슷한 느낌을 갖고 계신가요?
저희가 지금 메타 이해도가 가장 뛰어나다고 생각하고 지도하고 있다고 생각합니다.
I can say for sure that we have the best meta read so far and we are dictating
Ils ont la meilleure vision de la méta et évidemment, dès qu'il s'agit de dominer, c'est le cas de T1 et c'est encore le cas cette année pour les championnats du monde. Et je le disais au début de cette interview, c'est la 3e fois consécutive que T1 arrive en finale des Worlds, 3e fois consécutive que ce roster arrive en finale des Worlds. Quelque chose qu'on n'avait jamais vu par le passé dans l'histoire de League of Legends. Il y a forcément quelque chose à dire sur cet achievement qu'ils ont réussi à faire. This is the 3rd time in a row that you guys make Worlds Finals. 3rd time in a row that you make Worlds Finals with the same roster. How do you reflect on this achievement and what it means to you?
3번 연속 월즈 결승 무대에 진출하셨고요. 같은 로스터로 3번 연속입니다. 이런 성과에 대해서는 어떻게 생각하시나요?
월즈 결승이라는 게 참 프로게이머들에게 꿈의 무대인데 이 로스터로 3번이나 올 수 있음에 감사하고요. 이번에도 좀 좋은 결과 있었으면 좋겠습니다.
Worlds Finals is the dream stage for every professional player. I am very grateful that we pulled it off together on the same roster for 3 years in a row, and I hope we can have a good outcome this time as well.
Arriver en finale de championnat du monde, c'est le rêve ultime de tout joueur de League of Legends et il est vraiment heureux, honoré d'avoir réussi à faire ça justement avec les mêmes joueurs, avec le même roster et il espère justement que la semaine prochaine, il arrivera à honorer justement cet achievement avec une victoire à nouveau. Et je me souviens quand... En interviewant Bin hier, il attendait de pouvoir affronter T1 en finale des Worlds et c'est chose faite. C'est le match que nous aurons la semaine prochaine. BLG contre T1. C'est ce que T1 arrive à faire contre la LPL. On va voir ce que Gumayushi peut en penser. When I had Bin for interview yesterday, he said that he wants to face off against you guys. He wants to defeat the world champion and bring pride to the LPL again. Do you have any message for Bin and for BLG, your opponents, for next week?
어제 이제 빈 선수가 인터뷰에서 T1을 결승에서 만나고 싶다. 월즈의 T1 디펜딩 챔피언 T1을 잡고 또 우리 LPL에게 엄청난 그런 위상을 높여주고 싶다라고 말씀하셨는데요. 혹시 빈 선수 또는 BLG에게 전하고 싶은 말씀이 있으실까요?
제가 작년에 했던 말을 잊지 말아야 될 겁니다.
You better not forget what I told you last year.
Ah, il était dans le pas dire que les mamines non. Ah, il
Voilà le message.
Amigo, écoutez ma message puis amlo, il était à baby là.
Du coup, Paris, pour conclure.
après on chi bon. Ah, fait comme au début. Hein, pas peut-être. Ah, chi les.
Paris, je vais vous pour cette dernière question. On a passé 2 semaines absolument incroyables tous ensemble. C'est notamment grâce à vous. J'ai vu tout le soutien que vous aviez apporté à T1, tout le soutien que vous avez apporté à toutes les équipes. Donc, j'ai préparé un cadeau qui n'est pas que de ma part, qui est de notre part. À tous. I want to say thank you to all the fans, thank you to all the teams, but also the fans wanted to say thank you for everything you brought them. They were so hopeful and really, really looking forward to seeing you. So we have a gift. France has a gift for you.
Who win it?
Win it.
I present you
a
normal size croissant.
네.
프랑스 팬분들이 감사의 마음을 담아 평범한 사이즈의 크루아상을 준비해봤습니다. 먹고 후기 한번 들려주시죠.
아이들.
아모 또 포비야. 프랑스가 내비어 또 빈대가 또 동규의 니네. 세미 파이널 나이 와루노.
Is good.
다음에 또 뭔가 호환에 두래노. 알레 또 뭐도 pau사이래. 알레안이 pau사이래. 냐마 미나도 호환에 두래 말레. 데마 몰리미야 알레안이 pau사이래. 못 피해달라. 미국다. 나가마대야.
그 후아마 유로마. Paris 嘛諗住，話你是佢哋 Paris 嘛。
我試過啦，睇過呢，馬士利亞咯。
你知吧你？你冇得啦。我幫晒你，地路入嚟。
馬士利哦。
Best two interviews heading into finals that we have ever had, by the way. We do not deserve Bin and Gumayushi.
အဲ့ဒါ legendary figure ဆိုအဲ့個。
錯嚟㗎。
係俾。
咪有你。
你一個特技到一個。
Crazy, like when you kind of think about Guma, right? You had
Korean
at the beginning, sometimes he wasn't always the absolute top star. Then he turned into this super reliable player that got them a lot of their victories, including a big part from the bot lane in Worlds last year. Then, I know we laugh at the stat, but kind of the
အားလုံးပဲတော့ညချမ်းပါခင်ဗျာနောက်တစ်ပတ် final ကတော့တက်ချင်မှလည်းတက်မယ်ဗျာမတီးကြဘူးကျွန်တော်အဲ့ရင်တော့တက်ခဲ့မယ်ဒီနေ့ကအရန်တန်သွားပြီကျဲကြီးကိုကျိုးလိုက်ရတာ Okay အားလုံးပဲကျေးဇူးပါဗျာတော့ညချမ်းပါကွန်ပျူတာဖွင့်လာလား
ဖွင့်လာတယ်
အေးလားအခုအဲ့ဆိုလာကြည့်လား
ခဏကျွန်တော်ဟိုဟာထဲမှာခဏစား
Florida နဲ့မှာလား
ဟုတ်တယ်ကိုယ်မပြီးသေးဘူးလို့လေကျွန်တော်စောင့်ရမယ်ဗျ